Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this joint workshop on EU-made cybersecurity for safe, resilient, and trustworthy applications and services that we are starting now, and that will keep us together for half a day until 1 o'clock. I would like to inform you about some housekeeping rules that we are adopting in this workshop. First of all, we are being recorded, and the video recording will then be published on the websites of the projects that are jointly organizing this workshop. And you are free to leave if you are not comfortable with this policy. But if you decide to stay with us, we are thankful, and you will be able also to interact with our speakers, because you can post your question and comments using either the chat box or the question and answer section that you have in your video conference client. If you happen to have some technical issue, you can also email us at social@arcadianiot.eu, where my colleagues will be serving your request and provide advice from technical management of the conference. Now, this workshop is jointly organized by 10 Horizon 2020 research projects active in the area of privacy, identity, and cybersecurity protection, especially in the domain of IoT systems. It's clear that we all know that cybersecurity is a major topic of computer science and infrastructure in general, and it's also particularly relevant for the European larger aims of trustworthiness of our infrastructure and digital autonomy, where the Commission has already specified several guidelines that are informing the policy and the research topics that we are active on in Europe. My name is Giovanni Rimassa. I'm Chief Innovation Officer at Martel Innovate. We are partners of Arcadian IoT, which is one of the 10 projects that is organizing this workshop. And I will be your moderator. And just because we want to present an integrated experience in this workshop, we don't just have the presentation of the individual 10 projects that are co-organizers, and they will focus mostly on their use cases to give you kind of a set of concrete scenarios about EU-made cybersecurity, but we also have an opening keynote speech from Professor Dr. Kai Rannenberg from Goethe University Frankfurt, and then we will have a 1-hour panel discussion with all the representatives of the projects, and where you as a public will be able to participate with questions and comments on your side. So I hope everything is clear, and so I can proceed to hand over to Professor Rannenberg for the keynote presentation. Professor Kai Rannenberg is from the University of Frankfurt, Goethe University Frankfurt, and holds the chair from mobile business and multilateral security since 2002, and is currently coordinating the CyberSec for Europe project. Dr. Rannenberg has an extensive experience in system security, personal security, devices, and privacy technology, and has been chairing several working groups in standard defining organization. His research interests include mobile and embedded systems and multilateral security, as well as privacy and identity management, particularly using attribute-based authorization, communication infrastructures and devices, security, and privacy standardization. So it's my great pleasure to hand over to Professor Rannenberg for the keynote speech, and we will also have, after that, short specific Q&A session. So thank you for joining us, and I'm now stopping my share screen, and I let you go on with your slide. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Rimassa, for the kind invitation and for this very kind introduction. I will now try to share my slides. That should be working, hopefully. So I hope you see my first slide.
Yeah, we see the agenda.
You see the agenda. Okay, let's see whether we can get one slide back. as the introduction. So I was very honored by this kind invitation, and I was wondering what can I contribute here, and I thought maybe I can combine this and put this also in context of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center that is being set up in Bucharest at the moment, and partially, of course, because CyberSec for Europe actually is one of the 4 guinea pig pilots that is trying to define or to research what an ECCC in future can do. So that is in a way the background of this. And so, and what I thought what I can probably then do here is well, reflect a little bit about what digitalization actually means in Europe and what Europe should do. And you will, in a shortcut, see very quickly that what I will ask and tell is it's great that security is made in Europe, and we need more for that, and we need maybe make better conditions for that. But I'm trying to argue that a bit more by showing some of these initiatives later. And then, of course, a few glimpses on CyberSec for Europe where maybe can complement and can see the works of all these projects, and maybe can at least produce some results that may be useful to use. And then, as I'm a German professor, you get a summary and an outlook. Otherwise, I will lose my pension, and that would be too risky to do. So where are we? And in digitalization, we have an expansion and intensifying of data flows. You know this, data as a new oil paradigm, and the important point from a security point of view to mention or to remember is that early oil markets were relatively rough business. If you look into the books of history, that was not a kind and dealing of people with each other. That was quite a bit of fight for markets, for resources, for everything. And when data is a new oil, we shouldn't be surprised if our data markets have similarities to early oil markets. And considering that, I think 3 questions are relevant. I mean, the first thing is cybersecurity really understood in Europe as a core of successful digital transformation? And are European systems secure if you consider that reality? And does Europe need to improve on cybersecurity? So let's assume that would be 3 questions that are useful to address. And let's start with a quick, because I'm a professor and trying to define or to describe what actually is digitalization. I'll make it very short, because I'm basically saying and relating it to 4 security and goals, basically to the goal of confidentiality, the goal of integrity, the goal of availability, and the goal of accountability. And what you can see is certain things go easier and faster, and that is basically multiplying and copying and distributing things. And what is much more difficult and sometimes even impossible is to delete things or to limit data flows. And when it comes to modify things, and to some degrees that is and can be is easier usually. When it comes to distinguish originals and copies, that is harder. And even recognizing or detecting changes or manipulations is harder, and recognizing originators is also much more difficult. We have technologies that and techniques for that, but there are quite a bit of an effort. Naturally, and it's easier to modify and harder to distinguish. The whole concept of the original is something that we, let's say, hard work to get it maybe produced again if we can need it. For certain other things, it's somewhere in the middle. But definitely comprehending and checking processing steps is also harder. So if assuming that this is the situation, these were the 3 questions. And now if you expect easy answers, then of course, well, then better you're not too disappointed. And what do we need to do? And I'm saying, because I'm trying to avoid a bit to say, hey, we're not up to it, or too much degree we're up to it. We need to protect European civilizational values. And that means basically strengthening users on those whose data are used. That is something which you can see that is something vulnerable groups and are better protected in Europe usually when they're Europeans than other people. And that's something why Europe is attractive and is leading the way in some areas. We need to better understand our systems and the security. So from that point of view, again, it's good that there is something done in Europe, and we need more European collaboration. And then we need to improve. Yes, we need to better transfer from knowledge to action. So anything that you do, like implementing, building something, is good. And we will need, and I come back to that at the end when I have time, more consistent regulation and to deal with all of these things. So considering that, let's have a look whether we can get a next slide. Yes, we have it here. Here's a bit of and a bit of European history. Okay, the slides are going a bit slower than I thought. And a bit of European history with regard to technology transfer and strategy. Big success in the area of GSM and cellular networks. That was an investment by the European Union and by the telcos. And GSM was a global spread and the widespread basis for widespread consumerization. So that was European technology being successful in the world. Unfortunately, later, some of that got lost again. And Galileo satellite navigation is a good example also. Strategic public investment done in the public by a public-private partnership did not really come into existence because there was no investment appetite. Many people said this was a waste of money, of taxpayers' money. And when a certain US president, and I'm not going to mention here too much, and considered degrading GPS for non-users, it was really clear that it was really good that we had made an investment in Europe into Galileo. And third example, privacy preserving attribute-based credentials. It was mentioned that this is a research area that I'm active in, so I know a little bit about the field. Research on blind signature and zero knowledge systems happened in Europe. The knowledge was in Europe, but the commercial ownership is with US companies, with Microsoft UProof and IBM Edemix as the product. So the research happens in Europe, even in European labs from US companies, but the knowledge is elsewhere. And from a European strategic point of view, that is maybe not what you always want. We did some architecture work in Europe to mitigate that issue to some degree, but these are three cases we shouldn't forget. So in the light of that, we have European Commission initiatives for cybersecurity competence center and network. If you wonder what I mean, this is the logo, and this is a website that you probably have seen at some point in time. And otherwise, I recommend you to take a look, because quite a bit of action will happen here in future. The Commission has also set up 4 pilots, one of them CyberSec for Europe, and the 3 other ones, Echo, Concordia, and Sparta, and to line out what actually one could do in such an competence center, and how we can work together. And some of that work I will show you. In general, the idea was to say we need to overcome a fragmented research and innovation ecosystem, and replace that by a network of competence centers that can basically deal with diversity and have diversity in a positive way, accept some risks, and have a horizontal leverage and open leadership of what we want. And basically overcoming this situation that in Europe, very often you have small companies, very innovative, and before they are economically used in Europe, then they may be bought, or the people are bought by very often venture investors from the US, sometimes also nowadays from China. So what did CyberSec for Europe with regard to that? Basically, the project architecture has 4 pillars. Work on governance, design, and pilot, and work on the transfer from research and innovation to industry, work on education, certification, and standardization, and work on communication and community building. I will, in this talk, concentrate on the research and innovation to industry and the education, certification, and standardization. So just a few words on governance and for the design and piloting of governance. The core message of that one is that it's important that the bottom-up information flow and the bottom-up influence on all these things is actually working and really taking place, and it's not just a top-down experience, because what we know is that very often when it comes to security and security risks, it is the people who are directly at the shop floor, the people who are doing the development. They know what is really going on, and they need to find a channel to be able to candidly communicate when there is an issue. That's the only way how you can overcome an issue. So the next thing is in research, design, and in industry. The idea of CyberSec for Europe to that regard was to say, we have lots of security research, but very often it is not applied, and maybe there is some gaps between what is research and what is needed. So the idea was to say, okay, and we look for a number of application areas, and you see them in dark blue here, and some of them actually overlap with the projects that you get presented later, so that I can imagine there is some synergy available. And like I see smart cities and medical are happening, and the idea was here to have collection of security requirements from these projects, and then to have these requirements confronted with the research results. and the analysis happens. And if there is a match, that's great, because then we have a low-hanging fruit and we can build a demonstrator, and we did that and according to these 7 areas. But that's only half of the thing. The other half is to say, if there is a delta, if there is no overlap, if there's a gap, that should go into road mapping and should go into developing what in future should happen, so that basically, and we're not only do these exercises, but we also learn from the exercises better to get into road mapping. And this is actually and in CyberSec for Europe, that was work package 4, and it was done together with all the other pilots. That's why you see this green and turquoise cyber competence network picture here. The research priority areas that were selected or that were coming out of the discussion, apart from the awareness. We don't have time for all of the details, but you see there is trust building blocks that need to be built. There is trustworthy ecosystems of systems that are important. There's still governance and capacity building to happen. And there's a number of disruptive and emerging developments that need to be dealt with. So it's quite a bit of a strategic plan, and it came now out of experience. And experience from you is certainly welcome, because we hope that the ECC will follow on this exercise and do more of it in the time to be. Next point is capability building, open tool structure standardization. I've chosen one specific element here, a so-called SECARDS project from Brünn University, which is basically trying to raise transparency to make standardization more useful. And basically by saying we have meanwhile so many security certificates and from so many different sources and according to so many different criteria, like common criteria for security, NIST, FFS cryptographic module validation program, and the vulnerability database. All of that needs to be integrated, because if you try to develop, and you will can easily lose tracks. If we had more time, I would show an example on how a certain chip weakness was learned for an health card in Austria, but was only with delay learned for an ID card in Estonia. And it could have been saved much investment to the Estonians if they had learned earlier about the results from some areas. And this is trying to get more transparency about that, again, to make Europe stronger. The other point when it comes to standardization is, and we have worked in standardization because we think it's important that European things go into standardization and shape globally. GSM is an early success example from 30, 40 years ago, depending on how you count. And we have also standardization engagement plans and assessed which standardization organizations are useful. Actually, some of these plans are useful. People use them now, and people use them now for checking which health standards actually happen in which area. And with that, because time is in running, and these are some deliverables that you may want to take a look at the CyberSec for Europe website. And if you don't have time for all of these deliverables, you have something maybe easy to read, the stories. That's a narrative of, let's say, 2 to 3 pages each, and originally block stories that can relatively easily be read. And so we're also distributing that to decision makers. And if you're interested in cybersecurity roadmaps and challenges for that, then we have the Blue Book. And both of these books you can find here in as PDFs, but also nice to download. And of course, you find all of the other deliverables from CyberSec for Europe that you can enjoy. So, and 15 minutes are almost over, so I'm coming to my summary and outlook. This is in blue why CyberSec for Europe is a great project, and I really believe that. But I let you read that in detail. I just want to point out we have very often elected spontaneously, and we have this distributed governance model, which is really important. We have worked with EXO, which means we're also going to be involved with the new ECHO project that EXO is running. But the other thing I want to mention is that was not in the plan, and we were able to sometimes implement our principles also in practice. So having a GDPR compliant European Union hosted open source web conferencing tool when everybody needed to run to Zoom because pandemic kicked in, we had a number of examples that we can share how you can run your own big blue button infrastructure in your own infrastructure. And it even works for large events if you do things and then you're fully GDPR compliant. And what is the outlook and what are possibly some new challenges? We have, of course, geopolitics that came up since the pilot started some 4 years ago, close to the European Union, closer than ever, maybe. And we have platforms being heavily used in society for communications, and they're changing policies rapidly and abruptly, as abrupt as Mr. Tesla, I was about to say, no, the owner of Tesla, as you know him, was basically deciding to change something. And we have a situation that Europe can overcome that Europe is not really yet daring to place trust in its own investments. again, whenever you dared to trust, that was useful. And we need to do capacity building. Here comes the advertisement. CyberSec Pro is a project with regard to that. If you have time on the 18th of July in Brussels, and please come to the evening event that we have there. And that should be interesting on capability building and strategy. So this was a picture. And I think I covered a few of these areas in protecting values and in understanding systems and in more European collaboration, hopefully, and better transfer of knowledge to action. When it comes to more consistent regulation, there is one other example we couldn't deal with in cybersec for Europe, but I want to show it to you. And because it's also something that we need to take care of, and we need consistent regulation. And at the moment, we don't have everywhere consistent regulation or draft regulation. And we have a digital wallet regulation, which is a good idea in establishing the concept of a secure digital wallet. Only full control by users can create the necessary trust by users, has been understood by the Commission. And the eIDAS regulation can get into such a nice wallet. And it can be a flagship project. There's lots of challenges with it. It can become a flagship project. And what's happening at the same time in another DG, this is DG Connect. In DG Home, there is a so-called chat control regulation, which is a declared goal to prevent and combat child sexual abuse. So prevent children from abuse, which is, of course, an important goal. But the measures are measures which are basically measures to listen into communication, to restrict encryption, to do clients and scanning, basically to impact the integrity of scanned client devices, typically smartphones. How does that fit to the idea that we want to give users in devices that are really secure and that they can place trust in? So I think Europe here needs to set some priorities or needs to find the real solutions. Many people who look at the and chat control regulations say, hey, this is not the way how we can make life easier and smarter and more safe for children if we basically limit the security of those devices that they could use to ask for help. So with that, and I hope that gives space for discussion, I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. I'm advertising the CyberSec for You webpage, and I look forward to the rest of the day. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Professor Annenberg. It was a very interesting talk, and I think excellent opening for our workshop. I'm asking my colleague Valentin if there are questions from the audience.
Not at the moment.
Okay, then maybe if you don't mind, I would like to ask you one thing, because in Martel we are coordinating various CSAs and community in the area of, for example, Cloud Edge IoT and so on. So can you spend a couple of words on the distributed governance model that you adopted, because it looks interesting, right? So
yes, it is basically a governance model for the ECC. So I'm not 100% sure that it would directly apply to your cloud infrastructures, but I think a few things can certainly be used, because also cloud infrastructures, of course, need governance. So the first point is we made the experience that real cybersecurity knowledge, reporting about what are the problems and making proposals, happens in, let's say, circles on the ground that are sometimes local groups, where there is an ecosystem that is working towards certain solutions. That can also be a topical ecosystem where people spread all over Europe are working together and specializing, for example, on identity management or access management because they have a joint problem, or it can be any other kind of solution or problem and group. So these people are the ones that we need to win in the ECC to report the results and also to report the problems to us. And for that, we need to make sure that it's not just one central authority that says, okay, you can now tell something, but we need to make sure, especially two things. One thing, what we call secure participation. So if you set up an infrastructure like that, which at the moment is done with these national coordination centers for the competence center, one important thing is what we call secure participation. So when you are part of such a group and when you're reporting it, maybe you're not just reporting Gloria, Hallelujah messages, but you're reporting real problems, then it's important that you're still invited to the next workshop. So the idea of having just ad hoc groups and not continuous groups and workshops who are working is a bad idea, because people who want to invest in telling these kind of things, they need to have the security that their investment is worthwhile and that they get not moved from the table just because they're telling something that is maybe inconvenient. And the second point is, of course, and when you're reporting something about security issues, usually you're reporting also a certain weakness yourself, because maybe you're reporting an experience that you would have liked to avoid it, or you found something that maybe also one can tell it's your fault. So when you're candid and open with that, you also sometimes make yourself to some degree vulnerable. And from that point of view, it's important that people know what is happening with the information that they're reporting when they're candid and open, and that doesn't go into the wrong hands. So that needs to be also guaranteed. So that means the infrastructures must be simple enough that people know, or the structures must be simple enough that people know that when they're telling something, they're properly protected. I think these are maybe the both two important elements to get a really distribution and not just a collection of issues from central points.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you very much. And I see that like this goes also beyond just let's say bottom-up organization, but also includes the trust, the safe space, and also how to make people go in their best disposition to contribute and not to be afraid of the consequences of their,
Definitely, because
altruistic move, because if I keep everything for myself, I risk less, but then I don't help, especially in security matters. Very good. Thank you. And if I can share again the screen, and if there are no questions from the audience, Valentin, right? I will then put back the slides for the next session, where we can start the presentation for the projects. So give me just a second here. So here, share. Now you should see the slide and the next. So now we will have a series of 15-minute presentation from the 10 projects that are organizing this workshop. So here I'm just introducing quickly the first 4, and then I will hand over to them, and then I will probably present the next batch. So the first one is a spatial project that deals with 5G and 6G. Specifically, then we will have the Kraken project on education and health use case, then the IDUN project on manufacturing industry, and then the Electron project on energy. So the first one is a spatial project on 5G and 6G, and I'm happy to introduce the speaker, Madhusankar Lignage. He's assistant professor and Ad Astra fellow. I can see you already in the you turn the video on, so I will just stop sharing, and if you can share the slides, you can then start your presentation.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much. So, can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much for organizing this event, and today I'm going to present 5G and 6G security. So I'm Madhusankar Lignage from University College Dublin, Ireland, and I'm representing the spatial projects which we are looking at the 5G and 6G security. So the mobile network has been evolved over the last 40 years under different generations. So we are now experiencing the 5th generation of mobile network. That means we have passed through 4 other generation of mobile network. And in the recent terms, we are looking at how we can create the next generation of mobile network, or the 6G mobile network. So 6G mobile network is something we are going to expect to have in 7 to 8 years, probably in 2030 time. So when you talk about the 6G, it will play a vital role as a main communication infrastructure for the 2030 world. So basically, the 6G network has to understand how 2030 world will look like. So in order to support the future trends of the 2030 world, to satisfy the demand. So when we talk about how 5G, how the 6G will be different from 5G to 6G, and when you talk about the 5G network, basically it's introduced the network softwarization techniques, and the 5G network built on this network softwarization, or the softwareized network. And AI is playing a part of some role in 5G network, but not in the core network part. It will be integrated in some of the applications of this 5G network. But when it comes to the 6G, we are talking about the network AI. That means AI will be integrated end-to-end process of the whole 6G network, starting from the data collection to the core network side and also to the application. So almost all the application will be based on the AI technology. So this will be like the main difference we are going to expect from 5G to 6G in a nutshell. So the introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning will actually help the 6G network to be more autonomous. So we can introduce most of the autonomous function like self-monitoring, self-configuration, self-optimization, self-healing. Most of these functions can be enabled with the support of AI. But the introduction of this AI and machine learning has, if you talk about the security point of view, it has both advantages and the disadvantages. So in the point of advantages, so we can use AI technologies not only to automate other functions, but also the security and privacy function also be automated with AI. So we can have more intelligent and also scalable security functions deployed in the 6G network. And also the new technologies like federated learning or privacy preservation machine learning can be utilized in order to improve the privacy of the users. And also AI can be used as a tool to fight against the AI-based attacks. So these kind of benefit can be achieved by integrating the AI. But the problem is there will be disadvantages also related to the AI integration. So we know like AI algorithms are vulnerable to different type of attacks like AI model threats, like attackers try to reverse engineer or hijack the AI model, or adversarial attacks like introducing bad sample data, manipulate the AI models, and also you can introduce some kind of bad training data to manipulate the data training model. So those kind of attacks are inherent in the AI, and it will be also part of the 6G network. Not only that, we have to ensure the trustworthiness of this AI algorithm if we are going to use in 6G network. And also we have to ensure this AI algorithm are supporting the defined ethical rules, and also it is liable for the whatever the actions they are taken. So these aspects also be considered when we are integrating AI and also using AI for the security. So talk about the 6G network. So I have mentioned this AI is going to play a vital role in every part of the 6G network. So that means it's going to be integrated in the radio access network, edge network, and also the core network. When we look at the radio access network, AI will play a huge role, especially to manage this radio access network functions like channel modeling, channel estimation, modulation techniques, how to define advanced beamforming mechanism, the resource allocation. It can be a spectrum or the radio, other channel resources. So all of these trying to be controlled via AI algorithm. We know that there's a recent development of these open RAN technologies or RAN technologies where AI-based core functionality is already integrated at the base station to provide more advanced radio access network management. And that means this radio access network is vulnerable for AI-related attacks like adversarial attack, model poisoning attack, or malicious data injection attack. There are many possible ways like AI-based attacks can be implemented in the radio access network. And the edge intelligence. So that's the second part with the AI will be integrated in 6G network. So in the 5G network, we introduced the edge computing where the cloud computing features already integrated at the base station. So in 6G, this will be go one step further, not only the cloud solution, but also the artificial intelligence also integrated at the edge or the base station. So introduction of this edge intelligence can use as a vital tool to improve the security of the network. For example, like we can deploy these intelligent security services already at the base stations, so we can provide more advanced services closer to the user. And also it will help us to decentralize the AI algorithm, so we can eliminate the single point of attack on the centralized AI services. And also the privacy point of view, we can improve the privacy because user data remain in the close vicinity. We can assume that it's already privacy protected. So then we don't need to send the user information already to the cloud servers, and we can protect the privacy in some sense. And also we can integrate this advanced federated learning mechanism to improve the privacy. But on the other hand, this will also generate some kind of security issues. One of the biggest security issues is like now we are having more advanced and intelligent edge devices at the closer to the users and also the edge of the network. We cannot physically protect it as core network devices. Usually these edge devices can be lying in very close to the adversaries, and they can physically attack these edge devices, and now they can do more harmful things to the network, and also they can originate new more advanced security threats. So, and also there will be a more access point the attackers can get into the network. So those kind of issues will arise with this intelligence. And the last part, the AI will be integrated in the 6G network is the core network, where we have the intelligent network management and the orchestration. Especially AI will be integrated with HC zero trust network and service management scenario, and under that we can find different security issues like introduction of open APIs will introduce parameter attack, identity attack, or DOS attacks, or when you integrate the closed loop automation, so the attacks will be propagate, even the smaller attacks can be propagate throughout this closed loop automation, like deception attack. And there will be a threat related to the intent-based networking, like misinformed intent or information explosion. Those kind of attacks are new set of attacks which will be integrated with the 6G network due to the AI use. So now we understand, okay, this AI is playing a bigger role, and there are a lot of security issues associated with that. But there's another factor we have to consider, because there are when you are using AI, one of the biggest problem of this AI algorithm is most of these AI algorithms are black box type of AI algorithm. That means you are giving the input and you are getting the output, but you don't know how this AI algorithm is working, how these inputs are related to the output, and what extent these inputs the data will be using, whether they are satisfied with the privacy requirement, whether they are satisfied with the ethical requirement. Any of those things you don't know in this black box kind of scenario. So due to that, the usage of AI is getting hindered in many applications like medicine, autonomous driving, or also even the cybersecurity scenarios. The use of AI is challenging if you don't understand how the AI algorithms are working. In this context, the explainable AI or XAI is playing a bigger role. So the explainable AI can be used for you to understand how these AI algorithms are working, and you get some kind of human understanding explanation about AI algorithm. So when we talk about the security benefit of using XAI, so XAI, as I mentioned, the main benefit is to get like a human understandable explanation about the AI algorithm. If you use a security algorithm, you can get a better understanding how AI is working. And also it can be used you to ensure the acceptance and also the accountability of the machine learning or AI model. So because we know how this AI algorithm is working, we can ensure these things are adhere to the ethical issues or the privacy policies. So those things help us to have a better security solution with AI. So so the XAI playing a bigger role, and how you can make AI algorithm acceptable. And this is where our project, the spatial project, comes up. So special project is security and privacy, accountable technology, innovation algorithm, and the machine learning. So the key aspect of this explainable special project is to develop a trustworthy AI which can support the privacy, resilience, and accountability. When we are developing the models, so we are trying to develop ethical, robust, and lawful AI solutions so we can have a trustworthy European cybersecurity sector. So this special project started in September 2021. So we have 12 partners. So we got funded under Horizon 2020 SUDS 2020 call. And when we look at the goals of these projects, what we are trying to do, so the first thing is like we are trying to improve the transparency and the explainability of the AI algorithm. So we try to define the new matrices, how we can measure the transparency and accountability of these AI techniques which are used for the cybersecurity. And then we are trying to improve the resilience and the privacy of these AI-based security solutions by using this explainable AI information. And also we want to define a set of guidelines, how you can adapt this AI algorithm or trustworthy AI solution in your organizations. And also we are looking at the sustainability of this project. So we are trying to create an education module so we can pass the knowledge which we are generating through this project into the future generation, especially for the young researchers. And also the last goal is like we are trying to have transparent AI application understanding. So we try to develop a communication framework that enables the accountable and transparency understanding of AI application, especially between the users and the service providers. So with that, so I will finish my talk. So as a conclusion, we can say, okay, AI 6G technologies, mainly AI and machine learning, and also the new 6G application based on AI and machine learning will introduce a new set of security challenges and also a new requirement. So it is necessary to understand all of these as much as possible threats and issues early enough so we can mitigate these security issues effectively. And in this regard, so we've found out explainable AI will have a huge impact of designing this AI-based algorithm and also the 6G solution. So thank you very much. So if you have any questions, so I'm happy to answer.
Thank you very much. I would like to remember to remind the public that all the questions then can be asked then during the panel at the end of the 10 presentation, but feel free to already write them in the Q&A or the chat box so that we can take note of them and then post them during the panel session. Thanks a lot. And if you can stop sharing the screen, then I would like to invite Juan Carlos Perez-Baun from Atos, for representative of the Kraken project dealing with education and health use cases. So welcome, Juan Carlos.
Thank you, Giovanni. Could you hear me?
Yeah, you just need to share your screen.
Okay, I'm going to share. Let me put in presentation mode. Yeah, you can see my presentation mode.
Perfect.
Okay,
go ahead.
Great. Thank you, Giovanni, again. My name is Juan Carlos Perez-Baun. I belong to the Blockchain Identity and Privacy Unit at Atos Research and Innovation, and I'm the project director of the Kraken project. So the idea is to provide a quick overview of the Kraken project, starting with a short presentation with the objectives and challenges we face during this project, the key technologies we have been applied, demonstrators with a short demo related with the education pilot, and the main results, finally the lessons learned. So basically, the Kraken project has been an innovation action, has been granted about 5 million euros from the European Commission. And we belong to the BDBA association. We has been supported our dissemination aspects and promoting us. And the the project has been developed by 10 partners from 6 different countries from across Europe. So basically, the objectives that I'm showing in this slide has been achieved at the end, but basically we create a Kraken marketplace, trading marketplace, in order for including the secure multi-party computation technology in order for data analytics. Also, we have been integrated the SSI solution, self-sovereign identity solution, for both aspects, the onboarding of the users for both the marketplace and the university, and for login, in order to make a user-centric access control of the access to the data. Also, we integrated the privacy metric for the published data, and we have been applied also usability principles all the process. So also we have been following the development, different WC3 standards during the implementation, and also we have been GDPR compliant and EIDAS compliant, considering this kind of regulations. The Kraken project has been demonstrated in 2 pilots, developing 4 health use cases and 3 use cases in the case of education. And regarding the business aspect, we have been involved in the process data unions for providing the personal data. We include XDAI blockchain technology for payment transactions, and we base our business in the paper access to data and paper computation. So at the end, this has been developed in a final Kraken platform, a Kraken trusted, secure end-to-end. We have a privacy preserving platform, has been user-centric in order to share the personal data and create an analytics platform for trading. So this has been the main goal we have been achieved at the end. So regarding the key technologies we have been used, the Kraken project has been based in 3 main pillars: the self-sovereign identity, the advanced cryptographic tools, and the trading marketplace. And regarding the self-sovereign identity, we have been created a self-sovereign identity mobile app, a broker where this app the users can store the different key material and the credentials received from different sources. We also create a broker for integrating the service providers, and we also have been leveraged the EIDAS network in order to derive different verified credentials. And also, one of the main objectives was to be aligned and be prepared for be aligned with the FC and SIF framework that the European Commission has developed. Regarding the cryptographic tools, we have been focused on the secure multi-party computation for analytics, but we are using different cryptographic technologies like zero-knowledge proof, homomorphic procedure authentication, procedure encryption, and the group signatures. And with a big work on this part. And regarding the trading marketplace, as I mentioned, we include the XDAI watcher. We have been create and integrate different blockchains for transactions, and we include the data catalog for both pilots, health and education, creating the data model for both. And for the transactions, we create we use smart contracts, and at the end, for the control of the user of this aspect, we create a mobile marketplace. Also, during all this part of the technical implementation, we apply the agile methodology in order to proceed with in an iterative way in the implementation process. So regarding the health pilots, we have, as mentioned before, 4 use cases regarding how the the first one is related with the data owner selling data and where the user can define the user consent for accessing the data, for use the data, the price of this data, and the access conditions. In the second one, we are this is the vote for the data consumer buying or purchasing the access to this data and browsing the catalog with the available data sets and checking the metadata for this data. The third one was related with the monetization process, when the data union who provides the data can be used. And also we have been used different currencies for cryptocurrencies of use, and also the use of fiat currencies for paying the access to the data. And finally, the data analytics that is related with is provided as a service, and we distribute for distributing the analytics service, and this is based on the secure multi-party computation. And regarding the education data, the education pilot, we have been developed 3 different use cases. One is related with the student accessing the university site in order to receive different credentials related with their grades or their marks, and this proof can be stored in the SSI mobile wallet app that is used by the students. In the second one, these verified credentials can be used for presenting to a third party, and we can, in this case, is verify and check the authenticity of these credentials, and can be include the selected disclosure of the different information can provide the student. And finally, also related with the secure multi-party computation, also the student of the university can provide these credentials or this information to the marketplace in order to generate or to create, to perform different statistical computations on this data, and also performs this privacy preserving analytics. So the short demo I want to present is related with this part of the education pilot, related with when a student can receive this credential from the university. The student can store these credentials in their mobile app, and this credential can be shown and can be disclosed to, for example, a recruitment agency in order to apply for a job. So I would like to go to this short presentation. Let me start again. So this is the website of the student of the university, the student logging into them in order to get access to their data. So the first one is to connect their wallet with the university system. On the right side, you can have the mobile app. So the student can read the QR code in order to make the connection with the university site. So he can establish a connection. Once the student accepts the connection, she can see in the website the connection has been established, and they can export the grades of the diploma to the mobile app. So they can select one to export this grade. So in this case, the mobile app on the right side received the notification, and the credential has been offered to the student. The student checked the credentials. The credential has been received and accept them. So once this has been done, they can store this credential in the SSI wallet. So they provide a name for this grade, and once it has been stored in the SSI wallet and accepting this, they can include in here the new credential he has received, and they can access to the website of the recruitment company or the company and select the job they can apply for. So they can check the information, and they can submit the credential with based on the Kraken platform. So in this case, again, make the connection with the the site of the recruitment agency. They provide a name for the purpose of being identified in the human resource site. And once he has been accepted, they can submit the credential, they can choose, and they select, they receive the invitation for provide the notification for including the credential into the site, and they select the credential. In this case, it has been received. They provide, and the process has been done, and they can the process is finished now. The human resource staff can check how many application has been received. In this case, the last one, they can check the different application received through this method. So this is the way the process is working. And now I am going to continue to providing basically the main results we have been done in the project. So in the right side, I provided the different architecture with the different components we create, more or less about more than 25 components, including this architecture. So basically, in the part of the SSI solution, as I mentioned before, the mobile app, the broker for connecting with the service provider, a backup service in order to store the credentials and outside the wallet, the SSI wallet in the mobile. And in case of the device is lost or stolen, they can recover the credentials and the key material, and also the different components for being aligned with the FCIF framework. So regarding the part of the crypto tools, the secure multi-party computation service for privacy preservation analytics, and as I mentioned, the group signatures of the scenario loop proof. But it's important to mention that we create a secure cryptographic implementation guidelines in order to be sure that people who can develop these kind of things have a guide for doing that. And finally, the marketplace with a front end, a back end, and the catalog, the different smart contracts, and the mobile. So 8 of these 25 assets has been included as innovators in the innovation radar. And at the end of the project, as we finished in November last year, 2022, we perform a final and legal ethical evaluation, including the recommendation they provide once the platform has been created. And let me move to the next one. So related with the business part, we have created monetary incentives in order to, that is based in pay-per-use and model, and we use also crypto payment for fiat currencies for the access to the data. It's worth to mention that we have been created a GitHub repository for publicly provide the results, and worth to mention also that the multi-party computation service has been publicly available in this GitHub repository in order to the different users can engage to the Kraken platform. We produce more than 25 articles and books during the 3 years of the project. And one thing is important to mention is that we have been participating in 2 standard activities related with the multi-party computation, and we will be published during this year 2023. And finally, the lessons learned that we learned during the projects is that it's very important to follow the legal and ethical advice in all the steps of the process. It means that from the requirements to the creation of the user stories, the design of the platform, the implementation, and the final integration. So we see that the outcomes we produce has a big impact in terms of improving the data spaces, in terms of security and privacy. As I mentioned, 8 Kraken innovators has been included in the innovation radar. And also, we have been aligned with the European health data space that has been released recently. And also, we see that this kind of work has a big potential for business opportunity for different SMEs. And finally, it's important to have a quick reaction, adaptation to the new specification and the new regulations that has been that arise suddenly during the project, and we has been react during the project very fast. And finally, related with the agile methodology we apply, it was a challenge for us to apply, but at the end we can manage all of these aspects. So thank you very much for your attention, and you can visit the web page, and you can email me if you have any question to provide. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. And I would like to just immediately hand over to Cristobal Arellano, representative of the IDUN project with use case in manufacturing and industry. Thank you. I see you, Cristobal, okay, and hear you. So you can just share your screen and go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay, I think that, can you see the screen?
Yeah, perfect, full screen now.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for the invitation to this workshop. And I will talk a little bit about, in this case, cybersecurity for the industry, okay? This project is called IDUN, and we are going to explain in briefly what is it is about and what are the challenges that we are facing in the project, okay? Okay. This project, I think that is more or less is similar to the rest of the projects. The length is 3 years. It started in 2021, at the end of the 2021, and we are involved 10 partners. Okay. What is the aim of this project? Is the aim is to create a security shield. In this case, a security shield for the industry. Okay. We know that there are plenty of tools and services that are oriented to the IT part, okay, but it is not the same for the OT, okay, for the operational technologies. And there are plenty of differences between these two worlds, okay. In the IT part, we can, for example, in our computers, we can install some software that and operate some software that it is not so common or possible in OT technologies. So the challenges are similar, but the supporting platform is not the same. Okay. This point linked with all of the software that is involved, that is more or less the same that in IT part, faces the problem that we have more or less the same platform with less resources. And from the point of view of cyber attackers, this platform is very very interesting in the sense that the impact, if there is a security breach, it is huge. Okay, so this is linked also with the Cyber Resilience Act, in this sense that there are some legislation that is ongoing from Europe, because this problem, it's, I mean, it is a problem that it was the size is so big that there are some regulations that are behind it. Okay. So the idea in this case is, okay, to do to make us a trust framework that is a mixture of IT and OT technologies. Okay, and to do it quick and in an automatic way, and trying to to do with low human intervention and in an effective way. Okay. So this is the construction of this project. There are 4 countries that are involved, from Finland, Germany, France, and Spain. Okay, and there are mainly from these 10 partners, there are 3 use case providers. Okay, and the rest are technological providers. Okay, and other standardization bodies. So the item pillars are from the, and we are going to link these pillars with the tooling that we provide inside the project. So the first part is to do an identification and inventory that what is in the system. Okay, and in the system, in this case, in all of these OT devices, what are the things that are inside. The second one is related with the, okay, if we know what is there and we know in what is the expected behavior, we can apply AI techniques, okay, regarding to its behavior and what are the exposition to the, in this case, to insecure accesses, okay, and detect some misbehavior. And in this case, taking into account this information, the idea is to report it and to do some response and recovery in a semi-automatic way. Okay, and all of these things need somehow be related with the standardization part from the point of view of the contribution, but also to introduce the good practices that are already covered from some standards. Okay. As I mentioned previously, there are 3 use cases. The first one that is related with the lining of the wind turbines. Okay. The second one that is related with the manufacturing of gas valves. And the third one that is related with the production of parts from the automotive sector. And as I mentioned previously, the pillars of ITUN are, we propose to create some a bunch of tools, microservices that from the bottom to the top, let's say, from the those services that are going to be the baseline of the, or of better, the base of the, in this case, of the SOC for the industry. The first one that is related with the fingerprinting of OT components, okay, that we need to have a high fidelity asset inventory, that what are the things that are in this case in the use cases. Okay. The second one that is related with the automatic discovery of known threats. This part and vulnerability management part, this part is also linked with the Cyber Resilience Act, okay, that this is going to be a requirement that needs to be fulfilled in this case. The third one that is related with, not with known threats, but with unknown threats. Okay, using AI techniques, we are going to, in this case, detect some misbehavior, and this misbehavior is going to be the output of, in this case, of Heimdall and Thor are going to be the input for Odin. Let's say, okay, we detected that there are some things that are not going so well, so we have to take some actions into consideration. And the last one that is Fridge, that is related with the user interface, okay, in which way we are going to involve the the users during this process of detecting and knowing what is the health of the system. So I think that this structure somehow is another way of explaining the things that I mentioned it before. Okay, so the two first tools are going to be linked with devices and sensors and machines, and we need to know what is there. Okay, taking into account this information, we are going to extract some what is the expected behavior, and we are going to detect these changes in the behavior, and also if there are some known threats that can be applicable to our system. And at the top level, we are going to take into account advanced techniques, okay, that is related involving the user, okay, and taking into account the information of the previous levels, just in order to know what is the system, the behavior of all of the system, but and also to suggest some actions in order if they are needed, the human intervention. So okay, that the results are going to be the first one, a methodology, okay, that we we need to know what are the composition of the system, but also to control and track all of the changes that are made inside it. Okay, this will be validated with a security framework in form of tools and microservices that I explained before. We are going to do an integration in these 3 use cases, okay, in order to validate these tools. And we are going to involve these 3 use cases not only from the point of view of what is if not only to validate the tools, but also to get some feedback of what are the expected interaction with the system. Okay, this is more or less the project structure of the project. But we can see that there are 9 work packages, and I mean, from 2 to 6 are related with each one of these each tool, and BP1, that is the use case scenario requirements capture, and BP7 the integration, 8 related with dissemination and standardization, and 9 with the management of the project. Okay, and this is what are the leaders of each work package. Okay, so thank you for your attention, and that's all from my side. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cristobal. And I can then immediately hand over to Panagiotis Arigianidis, Technical Manager of the Electron project with use cases in energy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Slides, then we proceed. Thank you.
All right. I hope you.
Yeah,
excellent. Thank you so much for this invitation. Very happy to being here with you to present Electron and some insights and outputs of this project. I'm Panos Arigianidis. I'm the technical manager. I'm coming with the University of Western Macedonia in Greece. So Electron is focused on the energy domain by providing a security and privacy layer for power and energy systems. It's about 8 million euros regarding the EU contribution and its innovation action project under the umbrella of DS4. The project coordinator is net company Intrasoft, and University of Western Macedonia is the technical manager here. And the consortium is a bit large, including 35 partners, where we have a lot of energy providers, TSOs, DSOs, utilities, manufacturers, and all the chain which is needed for working all together for supporting this very sensitive domain like the energy one, since the impact of the cyber attacks in the energy domain could be very high, from creating brownouts or blackouts to threatening human lives. So the Electron business logic has four main pillars, starting from risk assessment certification, which is very, very important, since we have to know the landscape of our infrastructure, and also to make sure that any kind of device, for example, IoT devices or power device or energy devices, should be compliant with some minimum security aspects. So we call it border. Then the cyber has to do with all these security tools that are needed for detecting the attack promptly, and of course to protect any kind of sensitive and user data being exchanged in the infrastructure. So we use here federated learning mostly as a privacy by design concept for training our algorithms, and also we use very sophisticated tools on post-quantum privacy preserving, including also post-quantum digital signatures. The third pillar is called bridge and has to do with the mitigation plan. So the mitigation here is very, very challenging, since we have to work together with the operation environment. So given that all the electricity and power features and information are now carried through TCP and network protocols, we use SDN technology for applying proactive islanding and also network isolation using network technology. So we're bringing together technologies coming from networking, communication, and the electricity domain at the same time. And also we're constructing an energy training framework for exchanging the energy needed in case of a gap coming from a failure or a cyber attack, so as not to avoid, not to allow a lack of energy giving blackout. And altogether, and as the previous presenters highlighted, it's very important also to build on the digital culture and include the final user in the loop. So we use here AR/VR scenarios for better convincing all the personnel and the technicians behind this infrastructure that the impact of a failure or an error could be very, very high, and to provide some scenarios of what they have to do once something happens. So here is the main structure of the project, where 4 work packages composes the core work packages of the technology in the technology domain. And starting from the border, what is important here is the dynamic certification system. So we try to provide a dynamic real-time system that could allow or block devices that are not certified or they are not complied with the minimum security and privacy requirements. And at the same time, we use honeypots a lot, so as for 2 main purposes. So as to first hide the real device. So we use a lot of VMs and virtual machines emulating the real devices, for example, a generator or an RTU or main components that mostly they are tracked attacks, cyber hacks, hacking attacks, and malicious attacks from external sources. And second, we try to capture the traffic and the attacker tactics so as to improve better and further our defense lines here. The second part has to do with all the tools needed for supporting a correct and accurate, as possible accurate, detection strategy. So we have the CM to collect all the tools, to collect all the information. We have all the federated learning for having accurate predictions and detection of the malicious traffic. This is important here since the federated learning utilizes data sets, real-time data sets coming from different sources, for example, from a generator, from a TSO infrastructure, from a SCADA system. So we combine all this information to have better results. We use also post-quantum privacy preserving using new technology of digital signatures. A third explorer for exploring and extracting threats and vulnerabilities based on common information, sharing information. And also we have this electron share point, which is able to be connected with MIS-based anonymous repositories. And I will come back to this one again on later on of how we can build on common information and threat sharing framework altogether. And this is bridge about mitigating the attacks. For example, we have an optimal scheduling of what is the exact energy needed from the gap when, for example, a generator fails or is being shut down, stemming from a cyber attack. We have also the algorithms that create and proactively design landing schemes in case of emergency, given all this very important information coming from the risk analysis. So we know the weak points of the infrastructure, so we focus there, and we have already plans for what is needed when something happens. Also, we use this Nero tool about how to plan and design the SDN controllers for manipulating the traffic and isolate the parts of the infrastructure under threat. And of course, this blockchain-based energy sharing center for sharing and exchanging energy, for agreeing to sharing and exchanging energy with other stakeholders and third parties. The Prince has to do with all this training and AR/VR scenarios about the personnel. So we intend here to create a lot of storytelling about DDoS scenarios, physical threats, or phishing, which is one of the most dangerous threat for violating the inner systems of infrastructure. And about the use cases of Electron, the first one has to do with addressing mitigating cyber attacks in Ukraine. Unfortunately, due to the Russian invasion in Ukraine, we included another partner here coming from Azerbaijan, so as to run all the experiments that are not able, due to the war, to be run in Ukraine. So here we focus on malware, to detect and mitigate malware, also to detect hijacking attacks on SCADA control systems, or to detect also unauthorized access attacks, and of course to detect and try to mitigate with isolating and SDN technology and DOS and DDoS attacks. The second one has to do with the attacks and the threats on electrical vehicles. So we're going to see how the Electron framework responds under attacks on charging stations in Greece, in several parts of Greece. And also we'll optimize the algorithms to respond promptly on DOS attacks against charging stations in distributed or direct denial of service attacks. And also in the middle attacks between, for example, the car and the charging station. The third one has to do with cyber attacks against wind farms. So here the use case will be carried out in Spain. We're going to study many scenarios against the energy wind farms, since this kind of alternative energy production is very popular, and the lessons learned here would be very useful for the community. And the fourth one has to do with proactive islanding, mostly on this kind of concept. It's on Romania, and we're going to implement and study attacks against Transelectrica SA in Romania, for example, false data injection attacks, unauthorized access attacks, DDoS attacks, and we're going to apply our islanding schemes to see how the Electron framework is responding to this kind of threats, and of course, what is the response time against this kind of attacks. What I would like to highlight beyond Terminate is the need for sharing information first between the projects, among the projects, and then to the community. So for this reason, we published and shared this intrusion detection dataset about IEC 104, which is very popular. This is not used only on energy, but also in other SCADA-based systems like healthcare or transportation. So it could be found by the stakeholders useful, and based on the views, it's more than 1,000 views. I can guess here this that the community and all this cybersecurity ecosystem needs more of this common common validation, ways of validating the algorithms. And as the previous presenters also highlighted, it's very important to to go further this black box, but to provide explainable AI and to validate our results by creating a fair and transparent way of training our algorithms. And in the same manner, we have also published DMP3 data sets, so please feel free to use them. It's coming also from a real environment combined by many stakeholders from SDN Microsense, another project, Electron. So this is free to use. And at the same time, what we are doing is to deploy, design, and advanced industrial honeypots so as to capture the traffic and also to try to hide real devices. We have deployed many kind of honeypots in Ukraine, Bulgaria, Spain, Greece, in the countries that are participating here in the use cases. So if you find something useful here to deploy honeypots in other projects or in other kind of domains like theater, transportation, and other critical infrastructure, please let me know. That will be very useful to share also attack patterns and attack tactics from external group of hacking groups and malicious attackers. And here's our plan and how these tools are recorded in publications, and how they have been designed based on the latest and the state-of-the-art research guidelines, let's say. And by closing, let me close with another idea here for interconnecting all the stakeholders, all the projects that are interested in sharing information by using, for example, the MISP thread sharing. We are doing something similar in CyberEPS cluster. So this is also very important to exchange information, exchange best practices, and to be in line for any any new kind of attack and threat to be prepared and share all the countermeasures to the community. Thank you so much, and very, very happy to discuss with you your questions or your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Panagiotis, and we will then discuss this topic like the others in the panel. And let me go back to the slides so that I can introduce the next batch of projects. You should see it now. So the next three projects are the second project on healthcare, the Arcadian IoT project on emergency and vigilance, and then the Eratosthenes project in trust and identity management in IoT systems. So I would like to immediately hand over to Monica Caballero, project coordinator representing the second project.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me share.
If you can share the screen, then we can go on. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, if you confirm that you are seeing the screen.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Monica Caballero. I'm the project coordinator of the second project, and today I want you to introduce the project second, that it's focused on the healthcare sector, and thinking on the topics to be discussed today. We'll also introduce our approach and contributions, focusing on the safe, how second is contributing to safe, resilient, and trustworthy applications and services. So let me start saying that SECAN is a European project, as the rest of the ones presented today, that it's aimed to strengthen the understanding of risk, both at the human and as well as a technical level, through the delivery of a holistic framework for cyber security risk assessment, for enhancing the digital security, privacy, and personal data protection in complex ICT infrastructures, such as in the healthcare ecosystem. As I will be explaining afterwards in the presentation, the second project is focused on the healthcare sector, but some of its components can be also applied to others. So let me start with some key facts about the project. It responds to the topic cyber threat information sharing and analytics. It's a 3-year project that started in September 21, and we have more than 6.5 million of budget, with more than 5 million of easy contribution. We are a consortium of 19 partners from 10 different countries, and it's composed, and it includes large industries, entity data, which I represent, and we are the coordinators. Also, we have a large quantity of SMEs, 9 in total, 5 research institutes and universities, 1 healthcare organization, and 1 European CERT, that is the Romanian one. The context is very similar to the different contexts we are hearing today. It's all the unprecedented number of changes in the industrial and other sectors in recent years, with new models of remote delivery, especially in complex ICT infrastructures. And the thing is that all these advancements have came with new waves of cyber attacks that raise security and privacy issues. SECAN also observed that meanwhile the level of security awareness from people is still disproportionately low compared to the criticality and the potential of security breach in critical sectors. In the case of the healthcare sector, it's a constantly increasing data-driven ecosystem, and the interconnected nature and the high criticality of the sector, since it deals with very sensitive data, makes it very attractive and profitable to cyber attacks. In this complex cyber risk environment, our project thinks that there is a need to complement the traditional platform-specific tools and attack-specific countermeasures that are available in the industry right now. We think we need to complement with further understanding of the risk both at the human and technical level. You know, the human factor is by default the weakest link. You can have a more secure environment, all the tools you can imagine, but that if the human doesn't behave or perform correctly, you have a vulnerability there. So that requires intensive cybersecurity education. On the technical point, we think, and SECAN adopts the approach that the risks need to be understood and codified in ways that they can be monitored and prevented. And how we will do it? So by delivering a framework for cybersecurity risk assessment for enhancing the digital security, the privacy, and as I said before, the personal data protection in these scenarios that are also represented in the healthcare sector. This aim translates into the following goal, that it's to develop an automatic threat detection platform that is capable of identifying threats and attacks, and at the same time promote the situational security awareness as a priority. It's addressed to different kind of users. And on one hand, we have the ICT and security professionals, so the experts that know about cybersecurity and the risks and vulnerabilities. And on the other hand, we have the healthcare professionals. And here we can have from doctors, nurses, to the administrative staff in healthcare organizations, or even the health authorities. Identifying the different kind of stakeholders in the healthcare supply chain. In order to achieve our goal, SECAN rests on 4 major pillars. The first one is digital security and privacy, for risk and vulnerability assessment for both the technical and the human actors. The second pillar is the data protection and the accountability, and here we will rely on distributed ledger technology. The third pilot is to create and to have collaborative threat intelligence, so we can collect, share, and report security incidents. And the final one is the cybersecurity awareness training that addresses both of our users, both the technical and the non-technical users. Through these pillars, SECAN will provide the direct end users as well as the rest of the stakeholders in the healthcare value chain, improve cybersecurity readiness, increase privacy and data protection across entire industrial chain, and as well as reduce costs for managing the risk and for adopting digital solutions, as well as for security training. In turn, we think it will enable to make informed and context-aware decisions regarding cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection risks, and thus will contribute to safe, resilient, and trustworthy applications and services. Let me show you how these the 4 pillars I was mentioning translate into the major components that are interrelated among them, as shown in this conceptual diagram. All these components are to be integrated in a virtualized platform that will be offered as a platform as a service. At the bottom, we have the supply chains that will have our network, the interactions of the clients and the professionals that are interacting with the network, and also with devices ingesting data to the network. And we also have our IT experts or security experts. Then we have some interoperability layer that will allow us to communicate with the platform, and we have 4 different kind of models. And the threat intelligence model, the cybersecurity risk assessment companion, the trust and accountability model, and the security awareness training model, and then the interfaces. We also have highlighted which models contribute for providing techniques for identifying and mitigating cybersecurity risks, for designing or contribute to design and build more secure applications and services. And at the end, all of the models we think contribute to ensure the resilience of applications and service in the face of cyber threats. So let me explain you with a little more detail the functionality and the technology behind each of these models. Let me start with the models that contribute to identify and mitigate cybersecurity risks, and I will start with the threat intelligence model that supports the creation of dynamic vulnerability databases and taxonomies for the cyber attacks against the ICT systems, and in particular the health one. This model has 3 submodels that allows to collect the cyber threat intelligence from different different information from the stakeholders. Then it analyzes and enriches this intelligence, correlating the data and creating and adapting dynamic taxonomies for representing the cyber attacks. And then it's responsible to share this enriched CTI in an efficient and secure manner and report them to thirds and thesaurs. Then, as I was saying, it also contributes to the interoperability layer, so it allows to communicate between the medical equipment and the network with the SECAN platform. Let me continue with the cybersecurity risk assessment companion that provides a dynamic and evidence-based security and privacy risk assessment framework that allows us to deal with the cascading effects of cyber attacks and also with propagated vulnerabilities in the complex ICT systems. Here we have 2 main, it's composed of 2 modules. We have the COCRIO, Connected Organizations Cyber Risk Assessment Engine, the Technical Vulnerability and Impact Assessment, the Behavioral Analytics Engine, and a Human Vulnerability Assessment. Let me start by the TVA, or the Technical Vulnerability and Impact Assessment. This is a relevant component of the COCRIO since it allows to identify risk and vulnerabilities in the ecosystem. So this model, what it does is creates, it's deployed in the network and creates a map and discover all the current, the existing, and the new assets that are introduced in the ecosystem, as well as it allows to discover the services that are running in each of the assets in the network. It creates detailed reports and assessment of the vulnerabilities in a periodically manner, and that includes these reports include the level of vulnerability as well as indicators of compromise. Then the second component, it's one of the core layers of the SECAN platform, is the Connected Organization Cyber Risk Assessment, or what we call it, how we call it, COCRIO. And we say it's a core model when talking about identifying and mitigating the risk. So using input from the threat intelligence model, as well as the information from the TVA, this engine identifies the potential vulnerabilities and risk. It quantifies them and performs a continuous real-time assessment of the risk, adapting to dynamic environments. It also assesses the impact of what could happen if each vulnerability is exploited. And finally, it assesses the propagation of the vulnerabilities through the supply chain and provides attack graphs of this cascading effect. Then the model is complemented or finalized with 2 more models: the Behavioral Analytics Engine that analyzes all the collected data based on machine learning models and identifies suspicious patterns in the behavior of an entity of an asset in the network. And finally, the Human Vulnerability Assessment, that it's the one that is in charge of assessing the social engineering attacks. It addresses the human vulnerability assessment process by utilizing a state-of-the-art personality traits categorization framework. And this model attempts to map these traits with social engineering attack categories, so it can provide a total vulnerability level. And it also performs periodic phishing campaigns to continuously reassess the user's vulnerability levels, and creates detailed reports that can be used by the IT experts then to identify the human factor and as I was saying before. Let me then continue with the components more focused on designing and building secure applications and services. And here, the trust and accountability model, it's central. It provides data protection and multi-level accountability framework, relying on distributed ledger technology, and in order to establish trust, integrity, and protect sensitive data. This model aims to verify the integrity of the data. It also establishes security of devices and track provenance and integrity of the data that is being exchanged, and track the correct access to data. So it registers and verifies decentralized devices or users' identities that are created through the digital identifier model that I will explain right now. It records the data from the different stakeholders to ensure that there is a zero error delivery and that everything is adhered to standards and it can be audited, and verifies the devices and the data integrity on behalf of the data owner, and allows to provide access to only the actors in the medical ecosystem that are authorized to access them through verifiable credentials and attribute-based access control. So it's complemented by the second digital identity management model that adopts, as the project before, the self-sovereign identity concept. And so enables identification of both devices, entities, and users of an organization and cross-organizational between different hospitals. So this model creates a decentralized identifier that, as I said, can be applied to both devices or persons or organizations. The owner may prove the possession of this identifier without deference or permission from any governing organization, so it's decentralized. And the verifier can determine when the user, the DID, has access to the information, in which point in time. This the term model is finalized with the privacy toolkit that ensures the integrity of the communications between the cybersecurity professionals and the SECAD platform. So it will rely on advanced encryption technologies and that to mediate all the access to the information flowing through this trust and accountability model. This toolkit provides to this model of change functionalities to define how the data owner can encrypt sensitive data flow and share it with across different actors. It provides attribute-based encryption, as well as also provides privacy-preserving search over encrypted data using advanced searchable encryption. So these three, with the privacy toolkit based on the distributed ledger technology, accompanied with the digital identity model, from all these components of this trust and accountability for SECAD. Then let's look at the interfaces.
I'm sorry, but you are already 2 minutes over, so maybe you should
Okay.
wrap up. I thought the next one would be the conclusions, but
No. So we have a dashboard and the training models important for the training, and just to comment that we have 4 pilot cases in the case of for health, to validating the different kind of the functionalities of the SECAD platform. And I think let's finish with that, with the main innovations, with the risk analysis methodologies that we are providing, with capabilities to share operational data in real time in a secure form, the innovations through the use of the distributed ledger technology, and at the end, that all the models allow to protect connected organizations and empower users towards a better protection. So I think I can leave it as it. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. And we can ask more during the panel, like the others.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And then without further ado, then I move on to Arcadian IoT with Sergio Figueiredo, the project coordinator, and Pedro Colarejo. If you are here and you can share your screen, then we move.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, just 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
It's coming. Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm here on behalf of IPN as project coordinator for Arcadian IoT project. And as well, we will have Pedro Colarejo from Load Innovation presenting.
Hello.
Basically, this presentation will focus on presenting Arcadian IoT framework as a whole, but focusing on its usage for one of the 3 domains addressed in the project, namely the emergency and vigilance use case. So I will do a very, very quick recap on the motivation, which will be common for most of the projects, right? So reminding us why we are doing this research, why is EU putting so much effort in addressing IoT cybersecurity and trust and so on, right? So we see that the amount of devices being deployed and being supporting different services continuously increasing, right? But simultaneously, the vulnerabilities associated with those devices and services are still continue being huge, especially compared to other services, typical IT services and so on, right? So this represents a huge threat as we see that IoT starts increasingly present in critical sectors such as health and smart industries, smart grids and so on, right? So obviously this, on the other hand, hinders a bit the innovation and the business potential in using IoT, because many of the companies will think twice before deploying IoT, considering these risks. So this leads us to Arcadian IoT, which intends to deploy and develop and make available a holistic framework for addressing both trust, security, privacy, management of IoT systems, while intending to, in the end, accelerate the development of IoT systems towards the aspects of decentralization, transparency, and user controllable privacy. So we, as I mentioned, we have a consortium which is addressing three main sectors, being the focus of this presentation the first one, okay, which is the emergency vigilance. The other two sectors being addressed are the smart grids domain and the medical IoT. So the overall or overarching objectives for the project are to develop a decentralized framework for IoT systems, So this decentralization is supported both by leveraging the self-sovereign identity concept, so supporting the identity and the trust aspects, but also the leveraging blockchain for storing the relevant or the information which makes sense to be stored in the blockchain, right? For instance, taking into account GDPR and so on. The second objective related to the third objective refers to secure and trustworthy management of, on the one hand, objects identification, and on the other hand, persons identification. For this, we are exploiting new multi-factor authentication schemes, leveraging identification mechanisms such as biometrics, decentralized identifiers, and network credentials. The fourth objective is to achieve distributed and autonomous models for trust, security, and privacy in order to enable a chain of trust. And here we are particularly exploring the usage of a centralized reputation system, which produces scores for the different entities involved in the IoT ecosystem, namely IoT devices, IoT persons, as well as the services themselves. The fifth objective is to enable hardened encryption with recovery ability. So for this, we are looking at the recovery aspect. We are spanning both the recovery of data itself, the recovery of credentials, which are interlinked very deeply. The sixth objective is to enable self and coordinated healing with reduced human intervention. And obviously this points us to the role that AI is increasingly taking. We are exploiting federated AI, for instance, for intrusion detection in IoT devices. We are exploring closed feedback loops for network monitoring, healing, and protection. The seventh and last objective relates to proactive information sharing for trustable cyber threat intelligence and IoT security, feeding IoT security observatory. And for this, we are similarly to other projects that we're already presenting, we are exploiting MISP and its particular tailoring and support for the IoT constraints. So this is the high-level architecture. Okay, I will not go deeply into it. I would just like to stress the organization in 3 horizontal and 3 vertical planes, namely those of identity, trust, recovery, privacy, security, planes, as well as common functionalities, common horizontal functionalities, which can be leveraged by other components. And in here, we see the hardened encryption and the permission blockchain functionalities. So we will see a bit how these components are leveraged in the particular case of emergency and vigilance. And now I pass the word to Pedro.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to talk about a new service that Load is now starting or evolving and to launch very briefly. That's the Drone Guardian Angel. That's a vigilance and surveillance service that will enable drones to track and follow persons when they are walking from one place to another, kind of a bodyguard that will ensure that that path that they are taking will be secure. But nothing better than to show us a small animation video to explain this concept. Sergio, please. we should have some sound, no, Sergio? Maybe something is failing.
Oh, probably. Sorry, probably I need to change the settings in sharing the screen. Because I'm hearing from this side, obviously.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Okay, I will try to be efficient with this. Just 1 second. Okay, how can I share this? Okay, so I'm here. Okay, just like share the screen. Oh yeah, I found it. Okay. Can you confirm?
Yes, now we can hear it.
Anna is on her way home after a dinner with friends, and her mobile phone carries the Arcadian IoT Drone Guard Angel app. After dinner, Anna requests a drone guard to follow her and ensure her personal safety on the way home by detecting possible threats. If something abnormal is detected, the drone can start maneuvers to scare or demotivate robbers, such as blinking lights and emitting sounds while calling for help. If injuries are detected through image recognition and microphone inputs, a rescue team can also be called. We aim to develop a solid framework to enhance trust, security, and privacy, bringing protection measures to users of IoT devices and systems. Leveraging on and advancing technologies such as blockchain, chained encryption, decentralized identity, eSIM, biometrics, or federated AI, the Arcadian IoT framework will ensure protection of users' identification, such as biometric data and identity credentials. It will also define trust evaluation models for the devices, services, and apps, where the end user is aware of the trustworthiness of the system components and of the data privacy. Finally, it will protect the users' and devices' sensitive data through encryption mechanisms and recovery ability.
All right, you can go ahead. So this last part of the video tell us exactly why this kind of platforms to ensure IoT cybersecurity are so important to some real-world applications, like our company is doing, because the whole project concept demands some challenges, and those challenges are to ensure the security and trust of drones and persons ID. That's the one major part of the whole concerns. To ensure also the trust and reputation of the involved devices, all the service, the user's app that is used that's their point of contact with the system, to protect all the sensitive data that is circulating between the app and the drones and the system, and also, of course, to detect any anomalous behavior of any piece of the system and the ability to recover for any tough event that can happen. All of these challenges are raised because of the implementation of the features that I will describe further. Please, Sergio, next one. The first big challenge was to find a way of a user using the app that is part of the system to give their first data, their first sensitive data, and one of the sensitive data is to have face recognition identifying system. So, but it's not easy to have this face recognition. We have to collect photos from the person in 5 different angles, from top and bottom and left and right and front. But it can be not easy to all people to doing that with the phone. So we designed a very friendly system to do that, and then send all the images to the Arcadian system. Next. Then after the person is registered in the system, that person can finally request a service. And to request that service, an authentication process must take place, and only after a correct multi-factor identification of the user that involves that face recognition, that involves a user and a password, and that involves also network authentication, then you will be able to request services from our drones. Next, Sergio, please. And then after the service has been requested and everything was validated, the drone can finally lift from the park where it stands and go meet the requester of the services. And then when he approaches the person, he must take actions to recognize, to identify it, the person, and also the smartphone that the person is using, to ensure that that is really the person that requested the services. And then he must track and follow until its final destination. Sergio, please. So, and then two actions should happen. Either the user has a safe walk until home and nothing will be reported, and he can follow track in the app where the drone is and what is the path that he must take until home. Or, next one, Sergio, please. Or some physical threat happened, either an accident or he gets robbed or something, and then some actions will happen, and one of them is the drone, for example, to initiate a video streaming and call a rescue team, and already start sending them data that can help them once they reach the place. They can start already doing some actions. All of this involves very sensitive data and information that must be taken care of. Behind this, we have also a management console to manage the whole services, but that is another subject. Please, Sergio, I think that we are a bit behind in time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're sure.
Sorry.
Okay. So I will very quickly show how the use case which Pedro just demonstrated is being addressed by Arcadian IoT frameworks. So from the point of view of the framework support. So we identify these 7 main scenarios. Okay. So the person registration, authentication, personal data editing or retrieval, service request and execution, as well as the incident, either in the device, the drone or the smartphone. So the device which the user is using for requesting the service. So I will very briefly refer a bit how the different ways the framework is being exercised for supporting these different use cases. So from the point of view of the identity, as you saw, there is an important aspect, which is the biometrics, which takes part in the multi-factor authentication along with the decentralized identifiers, as well as the eSIM data from the network credentials point of view. From the trust point of view, we have the verifiable credentials for having proof of the claims of the identity of the users, while from the other hand, we also have new remote attestation schemes, as well as network-based authorization based on the reputation of the devices and persons. We, from the security point of view, in this particular use case of emergency vigilance, we are addressing both the cyber threat intelligence and, as I mentioned, the federated AI or based intrusion detection on the device, along with automated self-protection mechanisms triggered by that. We are also exploring the self-aware data privacy and self-recovery of data and credentials. And finally, exploring as well the leveraging of storing, for instance, reputation scores and recovery credentials in the blockchain, and supporting also hardened encryption for encrypting most sensitive payloads. And that's it. Okay. Again, I try to be very brief, even though even that way we were not able to cope with the 15 minutes. Sorry about that. But hopefully overall it has been clear that the purpose of Arcadian IoT is to holistically address all these aspects of identity, privacy, trust, security, and recovery. We have shown the potential of the framework for a particular domain. Currently, by the way, we are focusing on validating identity and trust plane functionality, as well as the integration of blockchain. In the second stage, we will support the other planes, privacy, recovery, hardened encryption, and so on. These are already being integrated, but from a validation point of view, this will be done later on. And again, the framework is also going to be validated in 2 other domains. So thank you. Please join us on social media, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Sergio and Pedro. Again, like the others, you can also add some more information during the panel to answer questions or to explain what was missed out by the unfortunately shortened presentation. Thanks a lot again. And next would be Georgios Baroutas, representative of the Eratosthenes project. So if you can turn on your camera and share your screen, then we can proceed. Yes, I see Georgios, but I can't hear you now. I don't hear you.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Very good.
Give me a second to share my presentation. Okay, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our project. As mentioned by all the previous presenters, we are dealing with some really dynamic situation with regards to the security and the privacy and the trust management across different domains and across different domains. Eratosthenes is a project, as you can see the title, on secure management of IoT devices lifecycle through identities, trust, and distributed ledger technologies. We are the coordinator of the project, a company which is knowledge and innovation intensive and active across different, let's say, domains. I'm not going to present a lot of facts and figures because most of the IoT landscape and what are the risks and what are the opportunities for the research projects to deal with have been presented already. The main thing here is that the IoT devices are expanding, they have an exponential growth throughout the next couple of years. So we need to deal with this challenge in terms of eliminating the threat landscape and the attack surface in order to provide a more secure environment for the end users in different settings and in different sectors. Most of the projects have already more or less the same starting date. We have started on October 2021, a 42 months project with 14 partners. You can see the consortium in here. And as mentioned already before, what we want to deal with mainly is to cover some critical, let me say, aspects in terms of trust management in the domain. Most importantly, we want to deal with 2 issues. The first one is the life cycle of an IoT device. Eratosthenes project explores the potential of giving a trust management from the bootstrapping phase until the deployment and the enrollment in the network phases. So this is the first, let's say, issue that we want to dig a little bit deeper, let me say. And the second one is to deal with a completely different IoT domains, such as the connected vehicles, the Industry 4.0 environment, and also the healthcare provider. These are the three domains that we will also follow the demonstrations throughout the project's lifetime. Apart from that, as you can see here, we are dealing also with additional challenges, and we give the appropriate attention and focus on it, especially on the firmware and the security updates issues where we deal, and I think that this is a real challenge, especially for large networks, as well as on privacy aspects, in order to provide the users the full control of their identity on the device level without being enforced to transmit this data to intermediary or centralized authorities. In a nutshell, these are the 6 main objectives of Eratosthenes project. I'm not going to, let's say, read it one by one for the sake of time, but I think that apart from the issues that I have mentioned just before, another important aspect to highlight here is the alignment with the current legal and regulatory framework provided by the European Commission through the Cybersecurity Act, as well as the alignment with the forthcoming or newly and fresh legislative framework as detailed by the NIS2 directive, and also the concurrent standardization activities in the domain of trust management. As mentioned also before, what we want to offer, let's say, to the cybersecurity community is some cybersecurity features, core cybersecurity features to be adopted by IoT solution providers and manufacturers in order to give a solid lifecycle management solution for IoT devices, respecting the privacy and providing security for each device, for each IoT device. These are the main technical outcomes and the main expected results by the project. First of all, we are going to deploy trust agents in order to provide a continuous trust evaluation, dynamic trust evaluation throughout the different IoT devices that comprise that are based in a specific IoT network. The second is to offer a decentralized approach on the identity management in order to conciliate requirements of self-sovereignty and preservation in a distributed model, trust model. The device level offering of self-encryption and decryption across the whole system, and also the offering of some recovery processes. Another, let me say, highlight of Eratosthenes project is the integration of physical and clonable function in the trust framework and in the distributed ledger in order to, as mentioned also before, to offer a highly secure feature from the bootstrapping phase up to the end of the life of an IoT device. Last but not least, of course, we are interested in the information sharing aspects. We do follow the MISP-based, let's say, functionalities which are already offered across the relevant authorities, such as the search and C-search communities, but we also explore the possibility of providing some interledger approach in order to give such additional, let me say, features in information sharing to those entities. The three pilots and use cases are presented in the current slide. As mentioned before, we are dealing with the connected vehicles, with the smart health, and with the Industry 4.0. All of them are complementary. The one to each other is complementary, with the different components and the overall solution provided being, let's say, dynamically developed at this stage. The first main demonstrations will concentrate under the first pilot, under the connected vehicles. So at this stage, we are, let's say, detailing the way that the scenario in the connected vehicles will be realized. The actual realization of the first pilot will run in the ADA, which is a partner of the project, field. It will this pilot will run in the Q3 of the current year of 2023, and will be based also in the tool that is already commercially available by the ADA on the advanced driver and assistance services aspects. So the main challenge is, let's say, split. The main use cases are split into two directions. The first one, both of them are V2X related. The first one is related to vehicle to infrastructure connection, and how we can secure a potential, let's say, interruption by a second unidentified vehicle to interrupt this communication between a car and a traffic light. And the second one will be related to a software update mechanism over the air, on more than one vehicles. So these are the two, let's say, directions that we are going now. We are in a dynamic processing of detailing it and building the whole storyline. As you can see here, the main components that we will focus on are the ones that are highlighted here. We have already implemented the first proof of concept, which was, let me say, successful, so we will build on it. And here is the first, let's say, high-level diagram, architectural diagram of the instantiation of the pilot and on how it will run. As mentioned, the main challenge is to detect a vehicle which is trying to spoof the communication bridge between a car, a vehicle, and an infrastructure which will be deployed and based on what we have agreed up to now on a traffic light controller. So apart from that, let me say that as most of the project, I think that we are in a full, let's say, development process at this stage. Something that I would like to highlight is that we are organizing together also with Arcadian IoT an event back to back with IoT Week 2023, which will take place in Berlin. So we invite everyone to participate in the workshop and to also submit any paper for the fifth workshop, which will be on collocated within IoT Week 2023. Of course, the next steps are also to detail further the two other pilots, which will be on health and on Industry 4.0 setting, which will take place most probably on Q4 of 2003 or the first, let's say, 3 months of 2024. So that's from my side. Of course, you can be updated and receive, let's say, updates with regards to the project's developments in the dedicated website, which is presented in here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we can move on to the last group of projects. I'm going to introduce quickly. Here they are. So the next one is the TrustAware project, concentrating on the security and privacy threats. Then we will have the Sentinel project, and then we will have the IRIS project, concentrating on smart cities. So I would like to immediately hand over to Javier Gutierrez and Angel Sola Lopez from the TrustAware project.
Thank you very much, Giovanni. I will start sharing my presentation now.
Please.
So I hope you can
Perfect.
see.
Yeah, full screen.
Okay,
Go
thank you
ahead.
very much. So as Giovanni said, I'm Javier Gutierrez. I'm the project coordinator of the TrustAware project, which is enhancing digital security, privacy, and trust in software. And together with my colleague from Fundación Cibervoluntarios, Angel Sola, we will introduce the main challenges and also the tools and the co-creation methodology for this project. So, well, some facts about the TrustAware project. Basically, this is, as you all know, Horizon 2020 project founded on the digital security and privacy for citizens and small and medium enterprises and micro enterprises. And what is very relevant here is that we have the website here, and also social media, Twitter and LinkedIn accounts. We started on the 1st of June 2021, and we'll finish on the 31st of May 2024. So, well, this is the index of the different slides and topics to be addressed. And I will go directly to who we are in the TrustAware Consortium. This is made of 4 user associations in Spain, in France, in Italy, and in Romania. Also 3 industrial companies, 3 research organizations, 1 third body, and 1 international platform. So you can see that there is a variety of organizations and a geographical distribution of the different partners. 3 technology as coordinator, and then Cibervoluntarios, CNRS, Seniors, Fondazione Mondo Digitale, Secure, Infocons, After Fin, INDEA, University Carlos I from Madrid, IoT Lab, and Regulatory Research. So, in brief, the motivation that led to TrustAware relies on 4 pillars: the vulnerability of users when using apps and software in general, and a lack of knowledge, training to be aware of and avoid security and privacy risks. Also, a lack of best practices in the development of that software in relation to security and privacy. Third, how to evaluate and ensure that software complies with predefined lines of action, standards, and certifications. And finally, despite regulations such as the General Data Protection Regulation, we often see pieces of news about privacy rights being broken and fines imposed by the corresponding authorities. So tools and support may be needed by these authorities to follow up and support policymakers in intermediate. So having this, we have these security and privacy issues versus virtuous cycle. And those 4 pillars are better represented in this diagram we have here, where we compare these 2 cycles. And we see here the involvement of the different types of stakeholders in relation to their activities and the results that are expected from TrustedWare. So the overall mission in the end is to provide a holistic and effective digital security and privacy framework that is made of a set of novel and integrated tools. You will see that I will give a brief description of each of these tools, co-created by citizens and stakeholders, and thus the involvement of the end user organization that were mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So in the end, the aim is to help identify, audit, analyze, prevent, and mitigate the impact of different types of security and privacy threats for citizens and also for stakeholders in a general point of view. In this way, we have three specific areas, three specific goals, which are protecting consumers against security and privacy cyber threats, also ensuring transparent, secure, and regulatory compliant digital products, and fostering security and privacy by design software by supporting standards and certification methods. So in terms of technical challenges, under this framework, we have data security and privacy analysis lab with the aim of gaining intelligence about the behavior and the risks that are present in digital products. Also, the so-called data security and privacy enhancing tools for end users. So this is based on the improvement or extension of software of assets provided by the consortium partners that are being further enhanced within the project. And then we have a collective security and privacy cyber threat intelligence platform for breaching the technology with citizens and other types of stakeholders. So for the first one, for this data security and privacy analysis lab, we are currently working on 4 tools. The first one is a static software analysis pipeline to identify potentially dangerous behaviors and vulnerabilities in mobile applications, and machine learning-based classifier to identify malicious APKs. And well, during this static analysis of the application, the metadata and code are inspected using pattern matching, string detection, or code graph analysis for the code. And this pipeline also includes pattern matching for the detection of non-vulnerabilities in the application's code or the application package itself. And in the end, this software, this static software analysis pipeline integrates and customizes a set of well-known tools in the field. The second one is a dynamic software analysis pipeline that analyzes the runtime behavior of mobile apps that handle sensitive data such as personal information. And the pipeline executes Android apps in a controlled environment to observe the app's behavior and gather empirical and traceable evidence of software behavior with security and privacy applications, such as, for example, the access to sensitive system resources and user data, communication patterns, and personal data dissemination at traffic level. Then we have a third application, a third tool, which is a framework aimed to help preserve and enforce users' data privacy based on natural language processing and taking advantage of deep learning techniques for the improvement of the understanding of the text in these privacy policies. So we have here different types of personal data being collected and the use of companies make of it. So the idea is to match these labels with information in the privacy policies to help the users, the citizens, to better understand the text. And finally, here on this lab, we have a couple of browser extensions that allow the collection of advertisements sent to users on Facebook and YouTube. The data is collected and then sent to databases. And we have also a dashboard set up so the information can be seen by the users, and also can get information about the advertisers and how the platform has collected this data. Then we have the Security and Privacy Enhancing Technologies Lab that focuses on 2 different areas. the enhancement of existing endpoint protection tools that are brought by the consortium partners, and the adaptation of dynamic attack detection and response capabilities to citizens. So in relation to this first point, we have the in-browser protection that is closely related to the extension for the automatic detection of inappropriate content in social media. And this allows the users to see if they were targeted with ads on Facebook that are coming from sources known to post misinformation, or that the content recommended by, for example, friends or platforms comes from low quality sources. So this is a way to allow users to better judge the quality of the content they are exposed to. And then we have the APK, which is a classifier. It's a server-side technology developed and used for identifying malicious APKs. And it exposes the functionalities through an API, and results are available for querying later. Then, in terms of the second point, is adaptation of the dynamic attack detection and response capabilities. We have the so-called activity monitor, and that was designed to address key challenges of monitoring the behavior of running programs to dynamically analyze and recognize malicious behavior patterns. And this has a good balance between the malicious behavior we want to identify reliably, and on the other hand, we want to prevent or mitigate the damage. So this activity monitor aims at an acceptable balance through having the system view and executed programs, and also providing detection and immediate automatic response by blocking this malware and reverting the changes or actions that have been carried out by this type of malware of software. So all this information, together with the tools in the previous lab, are integrated into a dashboard. You have here a screenshot. We have the privacy summary, security analysis, ad analysis, and also something that was brought from the co-creation sessions. That is an education section for giving tips and best practices for the citizens to deal with these cybersecurity threats. And then, in terms of the third technical challenge, this is the collaborative cyber threat intelligence platform. And this platform intends to facilitate the sharing, storing, and correlation of information about cyber threats, specifically indicators of compromise that bring together cybersecurity, privacy, and data protection. While this is something that is being built on top of an open source platform, a MIS platform. So the idea for this is that the trustworthy platform is configured and enhanced to align with the data protection, security, and privacy threat intelligence operational methodology developed in the project. And there is also an operating model defined within the project for giving some kind of information and to define the processes, the exchange of information between the different types of stakeholders and the sources. And one thing that is really important is that we are willing to connect with other MISP instances, and also we are open to get information from them, and also to release our threats, our events to them if possible. So this is a way of collaboration between the project and other organizations. And in terms of socio-technical challenges, we have a multidisciplinary analysis of the framework conditions in different areas: technical, social, economic, ethical, standardization, regulatory, and legal aspects. Also, we are based on a user-centric co-creation and evaluation process. And we have cross-disciplinary actions. But since I'm running out of time, I give the floor to Angel from Cibervoluntarios to talk more about the citizen engagement and the co-creation.
Thank you so much, Javier. As Javier said, Trustaware project is based on co-creation process to validate Trustaware tools. And I'm representing Cibervoluntarios, which are the leader partner leading all the piloting phases of the project. alongside with 3 organizations from France, Romania, and Italy, representing citizen associations to address the needs of those users, the end users, and to make actions for the co-creation and the validation of the tool. So this is from the very first beginning of the project, a key point of success for citizen engagement. We think that involving the local communities of end users of each partner, piloting partners in the project, bring the needed feedback to improve the tools and the security and privacy of the citizens, the awareness of citizens of their privacy, and also their skills on doing that. The timelines of actions carried out. We started in the first co-creation approach phase with group interviewers with citizens in 2022. Following with the first phase of creation of a specific training program and the methodology to explain the use and adoption of the trust-aware solution, the labs that Javier explained earlier. To do so, we create a handbook on how to use the dashboard, and also engagement actions for the second phase for citizen recruitment, which are now being implementing till April from this year. We are going to involve 400 citizens and users and stakeholders from those countries: Romania, Spain, Italy, and France. If you go with the next slide, please, Javier. The main purpose of the task is to establish, maintain, and expand the users community. One of the main things we need to address here is how to engage citizens on to give their confidence and the trust again in the using of software in Europe. So we started establishing audiences with the citizens in the pilot countries, defining and establishing engagement strategies to support the recruitment process. This is very, very important, working in a bottom-up approach. Establishing cooperation channels with local community, which I say earlier, is a key for success, and conducting applied interviews and surveys and research methods to help understanding the opinions of those citizens using the tool. Next slide, please. So the targeted message and tools we use to do it. The target, as Javier said, it was youth, adults, and senior citizens. And the tools for engagement was the creation of a specific leaflets in several languages for the local audiences, the translation of those languages, and through each local network using the methodology like web, the post, social media channels within local reach partners in their local language. We conduct workshops, events, and UX sessions to complete the co-creation methodology. In the next slide, please, Javier. These are targeted message and tool examples in Spanish for youth. If you go to the next one, these are for seniors in French. The next one, please. And this is the reach of the piloting countries within the consortium. From our side, we have an already 16 network of 2,000 tech volunteers. And also we engage those end users via email and newsletter with almost 6,000 people. And we have a lot of reach within the newsletter and social media channels to do so. Also from Fondazione Mondo Digitale, which is an Italian partner, eSeniors from France, and Infocons from Romania. We all work together collaboratively to reach the final number of users to give feedback and to make the testing and the piloting phases. In the next one, please. We, in the continuous co-creation methodology, we always create tools to make more understandable the dashboard and the tools for privacy that Javier explained earlier. First of all, it was a guide to use those dashboards for citizens, because we work also within those citizens. There are also vulnerable citizens at the risk of digital vulnerability that may need more attention to when explain things to them. In the next slide, this is an example of how we explain the use of the dashboard, the 4 main key points of the dashboard. If you go next one, and what are the partners are testing, the users. Privacy summary analyzes and simplifies privacy policies of websites or tools, commonly uses digital media with social media and mobile applications. We also have the security scan part that scans files and websites for viruses. And we have also the ads analytics. That is a browser extension that analyzes the ads of a person receives in Facebook and report about the reasons that they receive those ads. So they are aware of this. And because of the co-creation phase, another part were developed, which is the education section, containing online educational materials on security and privacy on internet. In the next slide, please.
Sorry, you have to really wrap up. You are 3
Okay,
minutes over.
really wrap up. We are now in the process. We are going to reach 400 people by the end of April, and we will give you more information about it when the processes you will have all the information in our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And again, like the others, you can explain more what you didn't manage now during the panel session that we have in half an hour. Thank you. So the next is the Sentinel project with Ruben Costa from Uninova representative. Yeah, I can see you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Just sharing my screen. Okay.
Yep, it's good.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Ruben Costa. I work at the Uninova Research Institute, which is a research institute based in Portugal, Lisbon. We are connected with the University of Lisbon, namely the Faculty of Science and Technology. So with this end, I'm going to present Sentinel project. So here is more or less an outline. So basically, I'll present the project motivation and key statements, also the objectives. Also going to a deep dive into a more technical perspective by presenting the Sentinel architecture, the context, and also the plugins. And at the end, to present you the validation and the use cases and what are the Sentinel main offerings. Okay, so basically, Sentinel, it's a project which started June 2021, which is constituted by 13 partners. It's an innovation action. So it has a contribution from the European Commission around 4 million, and it's basically a 3-year project. So we are more or less achieving the second year of project duration. So basically, Sentinel, I would say, main motivation is to address SMEs and also micro enterprises. So why the focus of Sentinel is specifically targeting SMEs and micro enterprises? Well, basically, because most of these organizations need protection. So they need protection in order to tackle the violation of individual privacy and rights, also to avoid the consequences regarding the operational downtime and also the data loss, and also into, I would say, one hand side, to avoid reputation damage and also GDPR fines. But with this respect, with regards to this, the SMEs also face several challenges. Mainly, the challenges are related with the lack of awareness with regards to personal data protection and cybersecurity. Also about the compliance to personal data protection and GDPR compliance, which basically it's a huge task, it's complex, and it also has costs, high costs associated with. There's also another challenge that it's dealing with the mitigation of risks and also to have continuously monitoring of their troubleshooting inside their IT assets. So basically, having this in mind, Sentinel statement aims to provide a complete privacy, security, and data protection suite that enables small, medium enterprises and also micro enterprises to achieve their business security and also to safeguard their persons in an efficient and affordable manner. So what basically Sentinel aims to address is to integrate security and privacy technologies into a unified architecture to apply intelligence for compliance, to educate SMEs on GDPR, and also a very important aspect here is to automate GDPR compliance. It also will provide a set of tools for real-time monitoring and also threat mitigation. So regarding the Sentinel workflow, basically this is divided in 4 different stages. So basically, the first stage of Sentinel into action, into play, which it's mainly addressing the profiling of the company. So basically, getting the company data, contacts, the assets profile, and also very important, it's to record their personal data processing activity. So this is basically where we encapsulate it and call it the profile. On the second stage, we have what we call the assessment. And here, basically, the assessment is to provide with SMEs with services and tools that will enable them to have a compliance self-assessment, also to provide a data protection impact assessment, a cybersecurity assessment, and also cybersecurity simulations through CyberRange integrations. On the third level, or on the third phase, we have what we call this recommendation and policy, where basically here what we are providing to SMEs, it's a cybersecurity and personal data protection policy, take into account OTMs, so the technical measures, educational training material, and also software tools and plugins. With regards to the last phase, what we call awareness monitoring and compliance, basically the idea here is to provide a set of mechanisms that enable SMEs to comply with the policy enforcement and monitoring, also to receive security notifications and also incident and data breach handling, and also have access to the compliance center, which is something that I will show you later on. So basically, the Sentinel key driver basically boils down into the GDPR Article 30 of the so-called ROPA, the Record of Processing Activities. So in this regard, a processing activity, it's a description of how the organization handles personal data. Its obligation, it's an obligation for many companies also to comply with this ROPA. Into this regard, Sentinel aims to provide entities to keep the record of their personal activities, the record of the personal activities in an understandable manner. So just summarizing pretty much what have been presented, basically Sentinel boils down into 6 main objectives. So the first one is to develop and support an end-to-end digital privacy and personal data protection, and also to comply with the identity management system. Second objective is to provide scientific and technology advances in SMEs and micro enterprises with regards to data protection and compliance assessment. The third objective is to provide novel tools and services enabling a highly automated personal data protection compliance in SMEs and micro enterprises ecosystem. As a further objective, to basically validate Sentinel in real world settings via use cases. A fifth objective is to consolidate international and European links to raise awareness and also to secure the technology transfer of the results. And the last objective, the sixth objective, is actually to boost the effectiveness of the European data economy by offering TRL solutions from 6 to 7. Okay, so now moving on into a more technical perspective. So basically the Sentinel architecture, it's basically driven by 4 different main contexts where we have the MySentinel, the self-assessment, the core, and the observatory. And we are also using different plugins from the Sentinel consortium partners, where we have, for instance, the GDPR compliant assessment, where we have the data protection impact assessment, where we have simulation environment. So there is actually a set of plugins that are also being integrated inside the Sentinel architecture. So moving to the, let's call it the first block or the first module, where we call it the MySentinel. So basically the MySentinel, it's the UI, so it's a UI component, which basically aggregates the data from the front-end components and web applications, and provides also insights to the SMEs with regards how they can achieve their cybersecurity and personal data protection goals. So basically, the Sentinel, it's actually encapsulating all these 6 services, as you see here on the right-hand side. With regards to the self-assessment, so basically the self-assessment, it's composed by a self-assessment service, a self-assessment tools, and also a registry, which provides centralized storage and retrieval services for all SMEs. And basically this storage, it's where the data related with the organization, personal data protection activities, and also the recommendations and policy drafts are basically stored here. With regards to the core, basically here we have another registry, which is where the OTMs, the plugins, and the trainings are also stored. And this is also composed by the recommendation engine and also the policy drafting. With regards to the observatory, so once again, this is also composed by a knowledge base and also by a service that, to some extent, deals with the information exchange that takes into account the continuously monitoring and also collecting information from open security data sharing platforms, like, for example, the MISP that was also presented here in previous presentations. With regards to the Sentinel validation, so basically here we have 2 main pilots, 2 main verticals, one on a micro enterprise level, where we have a clinic that is dealing with genomic data, and a second pilot, which is an SME that is dealing with social care. With regards to already accomplished functionalities, so this is something that it's up and running. It's regarding the SME registration and profile, also the ability to complete the self-assessment workflow, to be able to acquire policy recommendations, and also to consult the observatory knowledge base. So basically, these are the functionalities which are already up and running. So I'm just going to show you here a brief use case that we are proposing for SMEs in order to actually test and validate SML Sentinel platform. So basically this use case, it's the first stage, deals with the SME registration and profiling. So basically here, the SME interacts with Sentinel through the MySentinel components, and basically the SME registers the company data through a questionnaire, and basically the platform here stores the profile of the company. On the second stage, there is this self-assessment workflow, which is provided by Sentinel, and here basically the SME has to complete this self-assessment workflow that is being proposed by Sentinel, and this workforce, this assessment, it's adjusted, take into account the SME profile. On the third phase, we have what we call the acquiring policy recommendations. So basically the system here returns a tailor-made set of security policies. And on the fourth phase, or the fourth use case, here the SME, it's able to browse the Sentinel Observatory, which is a knowledge base which stores the identified data and also privacy breaches. And basically here the idea is to actually show the functionality where the SME is able to interact with the observatory. So basically, as the Sentinel main offerings, and just wrapping up, we have three main verticals. One is focusing Sentinel on SME training and education, where here the idea is to assist SMEs to understand and also to get awareness more on how to record their personal activities. On the second
I think we lost our speaker. Yeah, we lost you. We lost you for. I lost you for 30 seconds or something.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it's not your fault, but
sorry.
Yeah.
I was okay. Just wrapping up very shortly.
Yeah.
Basically, I was presenting here Sentinel main offerings, which is basically driven into three different pillars. One focus on SME training and education. The other one focusing on providing an evidence-based GDPR compliance, and a third level, or a third pillar, which basically is the consequences to cutting costs of the SMEs through automation. And okay, thank you very much. That was basically it. Here you can follow Sentinel on social media. Here are our channels. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much. You were perfectly on time, and almost one more project. This is the IRIS project on the smart cities domain, and presenting Susana Gonzalez Zarzosas and Rodrigo Diaz Rodriguez from Atos.
Thanks,
So
Giovanni.
floor is yours. Yep, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Everything is fine.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything is
perfect.
fine, and you are full screen. So.
Okay, perfect. So good morning, good afternoon to everyone. My name is Rodrigo Diaz, and today I want to present you the IRIS project. So IRIS aims to provide a collaborative third and third platform to combat cyber threats in the IoT and AI-driven systems. Let me see. Okay, here you have some numbers about the project. So it's a 3-year project. We started more or less similar to other previous projects in September 2021. The consortium is composed by 19 partners. It's led by Innov, and Atos is the technical coordinator here. The consortium is composed by 6 public organizations, 3 SMEs, 4 large industries, and 6 research institutions. Well, regarding the innovation, I already introduced it before the innovation. Basically, in this project, we want to address, the emerging threat landscape that is linked to IoT and AI-based systems. And we try to provide a platform to help thirds and thirds in order to combat this new type of threats linked to those infrastructures. So basically, the IRIS project will provide a platform or a framework, including different tools that are covering the whole life cycle of cybersecurity, from detection, sharing, response, and recovery. aiming to minimize the impact on security and privacy related to these infrastructures. And it's worth to mention that the IRIS platform will be offered free of charge at the end of the project to the thirds and thirds around Europe. This is the methodology we are following in the project. It's a user-centric methodology. So everything started with the definition of the use case scenarios. From that, we extracted the technical and user requirements. These requirements serve us to define the architecture, the project architecture that later on I will present. And now we are fully focused on the implementation of the different components. So we will have 2 releases, one on month 28 and another one on month 32, which will be validated on 3 challenges use cases that we will also introduce later. One of the main outcomes we have so far in the project is the release of the architecture. We have an initial version on month 9, which serves us to start the developments, but now we are about to release the final one, so it's tomorrow. You can see here a high-level view of the architecture. I will not go into the technical details, but it's composed by 3 main pillars. In the middle, you have the automated threat analytics component, which is in charge of monitoring the architecture, trying to identify the vulnerabilities, trying to detect the different threats, trying to collect as much information as possible of the attacker, and also it provides the response and recovery capabilities. Then we have what we call the enhanced Melither ecosystem, which is built on top of the Melither platform. Melither is an open source project. This component is in charge of coordinating all the data flows, coordinating all the activities, and also the responses. We also have the data protection and accountability module, which is in charge of providing this confidentiality and data protection, and also traceability of the different actions. And last but not least, we have the virtual cyber range platform, which is aiming to provide training services to the different staff in order to put them in front of real situations. Well, of course, and we have the use cases for the validation. So here you have a bit more detail in which you see the main functionalities of each block. So for instance, for the automated threat analytics module, you see that there is a task focused on the identification of vulnerabilities, another one for the threat detection, another one for the response and the recovery, and the last one for the digital twins, honeypots, and telemetry analytics. Here you have a similar view, but in this case, we have introduced the different tools that are providing those functionalities. So you can see that for all of them, we have at least one tool, and for some of them, we have several ones. Regarding the validation, we have 3 use cases, 3 challenges and complementary use cases. The first one is about the protection of a smart city infrastructure provided by the City Hall of Barcelona. We have customized the architecture, taking into account the main challenges that have to be addressed in this scenario. So on the left side, we have the pilot, which is provided by the Pledger project. So this pilot is aiming to monitor a tram station, and basically the objective here is to avoid the collision between pedestrian and bicycles. So on top of this, the IRIS project will make all this infrastructure secure. So on top of the pilot, we have Cisco Cyber Vision product, which is also involved in this pilot, and then we have the different proof, the different sensors that are capturing information and passing this information to the automated threat analytics module, and in the end, and to the collaborative threat intelligence block. For the second use case, well, this use case is slightly different. I mean, it's about protecting an AI system, and more concretely, it's an autonomous transport system provided by the city of Tallinn. You see here also on the left side the pilot infrastructure. I mean, with all the different components, and also some sensors deployed on it. You see on the middle also the automated threat analytics block, but in this case the tools used are slightly different. And of course you see also the collaborative threat intelligence block, but also in this case we're also entering into the scene the data protection and accountability block. Last but not least, the third use case is about providing an efficient collaboration for threat response. So in this case, is focused in the energy sector, and we are enabling here a cross-border communication between the city of Helsinki and Tallinn. So again, you have here how the architecture is customized to this pilot. Well, in this case, you know, although we have also the detection of incidents, the main focus on this use case is on the collaboration in the orchestration of the data between the two different cities. That's all from my side. Here you have the details of the project, and if in case you have questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much. And we are now at the end of the project presentation session, so we should move to the panel. So I invite the speakers again to be ready to discuss a little bit more about their projects and about the general scenario that they can see for cybersecurity in Europe. So I understand at the moment we don't have pending questions from the audience from the previous parts. So I invite you all to submit if you have questions or comments to the chat box or to the Q&A box. But I would like to start the panel. So if the representatives of the project can turn on their cameras. I would like to give you the possibility to start with an opening statement. Now, you already presented the project, so it's not so much about that. What I would like to understand is, first of all, for the ones that I apologize, but we couldn't let you complete the presentation. If there is some more detail or some specific things that were left out that you want to add, you're welcome. But then what I would like to say in the opening statement is how do you position your project with respect to the others, or what have you learned from the other presentation, and what kind of collaboration you see between your project and the others, because as you know, this workshop is about the synergy and let's say bigger picture of European Union-made cybersecurity. And of course, we heard different stories from you, different use cases, different domains, and you have different focus and strengths that you can maybe combine with the others. So if it's okay with you also to make my life a little easier, I would like to go in the same order of the presentation so that then I have the list here and I'm sure not to miss anybody, okay? So if it's possible, the first then would be the spatial project. So if...
Hello, Giovanni.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm speaking on behalf of Matsusanka because he had to leave. He'll be back,
that's good.
I guess, in 10 minutes, but I'm not the technical partner. So
okay, we put you then later if you want. If you are not speaking, then I can wait. Okay. Then the next will be the Kraken project. Yeah, no problem, no problem. So if Juan Carlos is still here for the Kraken project, you could start with the opening statement. Okay, then Cristobal from IDUM project.
Yes, sorry, you're in the same situation as Blanca mentioned. Sorry for this. The technical person left because he would not stay.
Okay. Then Electron project, Panagiotis, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Giovanni.
So you go. I mean, you heard me, right? Just in the general context, how you see the position of your project and how you would like what you would like to collaborate with the others on and so on.
Yes. Thank you. Really happy to to be here and getting all this feedback from the other projects as well. Since what I can see here is that we're all working on some common objectives, and many of us working also towards the protection, the cybersecurity, the trust on critical infrastructure like energy, healthcare, transportation, and more like that. So from our projects, since this is coming, Electron is coming as a series from old ones, and what our experience says here is that one of the most important things we could share and build on is the common datasets coming from real environments and captured with a very real context and emulating what is happening in real environments on critical infrastructure. So as I said, we already shared, and they are open to the community, 2 datasets for EEC 104 and DNB3. So for all projects that are interesting in using them, or to start discussing with Electron of how we can together collaborate on this, not only for research purposes, but also for using these datasets in another pilots, or in real infrastructure using in other projects, that would be very useful. And also, as many speakers also highlighted, it's very important. These datasets are also very important to increase the validity and to process the validation of the algorithms used. And also, given that many projects are using federated learning, what is important with that aspect is that the real datasets are not exposed. So maybe if you have any, if the projects have any legal issues and they are not able to share, such information, what we could do is to share not real data, but models, so federated models. So it would be very useful to see what happens if global models are fed by models coming from totally different environments like energy and healthcare, or energy and transportation, etc. And by closing, what I would like also to pinpoint here is the need for fostering common activities in terms of information. So what we are using here is MISP interconnection. So MISP could be a very good starting point for all the projects, not only the participants of the project, the consortium of the project, but also the stakeholders and all the individuals and all the cluster behind that are interesting to join such activities and to be in line by having all this information, the best practices, the training activities, and all the access to the lessons learned and the experience we got already from the projects, and to share our common view to the community. So as, for example, if something new happens, a new kind of cybersecurity or a new kind of attack tactic, so all this community would be in line and in close communication, so as to share a common practice, a good tool, or something something useful for them to make all the countermeasures, like a best configuration for dealing with this cyber attack. So to conclude, three main aspects coming from Electron. First, sharing datasets coming from industrial, real, or emulated environments. Second, exchanging information, maybe using MISP interfaces. And third, maybe to see also common pilots, or sharing datasets to different pilots or federated models to see what happens, and to make more experiences and more evidence and outputs coming from totally different domains in the context of critical infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there Monica or someone from the second project?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, very good.
So thank you, because I think Panagiotis cover very relevant topics where synergies and collaboration can be achieved. I want to complement those. I want to reinforce one of them. In SECAN, I didn't mention specifically, but our threat intelligence model is also based on MISP. So I was interested when Panagiotis, you told us about this network for MIS, and I think most of the projects share it. So belonging to this network, or I mean, I'm not an expert in MIS, I'm the technical manager, is not connected today, I just have a more high level knowledge, but I think if all the projects are based on MIS for the identification of risk, for sure there is space for collaboration. In my personal experience, I think that sometimes the collaboration is challenging, since in all the projects, all the partners are focused on their own objectives, and time is always restrictive, and efforts are very limited. But what can be successful is to share the best experience or the results that others can leverage for their own purpose. So I really think that we in SECAN, we were thinking about organizing or how to promote the organization of technical workshops, more focused on working, you know, and sharing real or focus on specific aspects of the topics that we are covering. So one of them is the identification of risk in complex ICT infrastructures. And if we even can focus that more in using MISP and how we can collaborate or learn with from the experience of the others, or leverage on the results of the others, I think this can be very, very interesting. Then another thing I identify in the different projects is that some of us are also relying on blockchain for all the trust and accountability. So the access of the users to data to ensure or to minimize the risk. There was another project, and I cannot remember right now, that they were also using a wallet app, and I think also this aspect is common to various projects, and it also can be good to share some experience and analyze the compatibility also for the European research community. I mean, one thing is our projects, but our projects are one of the easiest funding this project, since the idea is that there is a return to the European community. So if there is some common best practices that we can share, some, I won't say standards, because it's not the word I want to say, but yes, the best practice, how to implement this kind of digital identification so they are more successful or they have more acceptance. I think it's also a commonality between the different projects. And my third point was about the training. In SECAN, as I was saying, we put a focus on also the human level. Also Sentinel, I think if I recall correctly, they were focusing on training. We have pilots for training. We have to see collaboration in two different kind of ways. First of all, because we have pilots and we need some professionals to use the training material we are creating for non-IT professionals. So maybe having the pilots of other sectors can be also good, and understand if the training material we are creating, it's tailored to the healthcare sector or can be abstracted and applicable to other sectors. This is on one thing. And the other is aspect is also regarding the best practices regarding training, since people normally are reluctant unless they are obliged to do some training on cybersecurity, because it's some kind of worry when thinking about health professionals. Or I remember from people from Sentinel in another workshop telling that it could be challenging to engage them into these training activities. So to share various experiences and ways to make this more engaging, to ensure that not just the experts, but in general, the European community, the population, the general population can be better trained for cyber risk. I think it's a very interesting aspect.
Thank you. And next, Sergio or Pedro from Arcadian IoT, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Okay.
Very good.
I would like to pick up on the workshop's main topic, in my opinion, which was the demonstrating how the projects reflect into the needs and address the needs of real application domains or sectors, right? And this is, well, very importantly, as mentioned, directly related to the training importance, right? I would like also to stress, even from the point of view of the end users' involvement in the project, it would be nice to share some lessons learned on how to from the project execution point of view, to address these different needs. For instance, in Arcadian IoT, we have both SMEs, which either inherently address the cybersecurity and principles, and they are already leverage this knowledge internally when designing their solutions, while others are completely agnostic to this. So they really need we really need technical experts to give the hand for this, in order to understand how we can solve their issues, how we can improve the security of their products. So it has been an interesting challenge from even from the project execution point of view on how to handle this. Okay, I would also, picking up from what Panagiotis mentioned, it was really interesting for me to see the information about data sets. One of the domains we are addressing as well is the industrial critical systems, so in particular the smart grids. So it can actually be useful for us to analyze internally how the data sets could be used, for instance, for the AI models, and particularly, I really supported the suggestion of considering the sharing of models. Again, we are also addressing and exploring federated AI, where we have the limitations on which data can actually be shared, right? So, moreover, I would also like to stress that the other commonalities that actually some of you have already mentioned, right? Besides the federated AI, the SSI and the blockchain, right? There are many challenges associated to this, especially to the need for tailoring sometimes different blockchains for supporting different things, and this leads to huge complexity. And I would like to see some knowledge and lessons learned shared for this. For instance, there can be the need for supporting using different approaches, SSI solutions for devices than those for identifying persons. The MISP and CTI topic it's a really interesting one, and certainly there are different assumptions with respect to the way these are being considered, in the sense, for instance, we in Arcadian IoT were really exploring how it can be enhanced, how the tool can be enhanced, for instance, having more efficient threat information being shared. So even addressing the extension or the format of the messages, while others typically are just using it as a tool. Well, and again, it would be interesting to cross the lessons learned, fuel the training that can be done for this, and the standardization point. I think it would be interesting to analyze how the multiple projects are collectively supporting or contributing to standardization, considering the EU ambitions in increasing the contribution to standards by European entities. And well, last but not least, and probably this will make sense later near to the closure of the projects, or even after the ending, it would be interesting to share some lessons specifically from the point of view of what would have been done differently than initially planned, looking at the specificities of the technologies that have been considered. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Sergio. And then the Trust-Aware project, Javier or Angel?
Yes, thank you, Giovanni. I will try to be brief because I must leave the meeting in a couple of minutes. So basically, I agree with, well, you saw that in our presentation about the MISP instance and how to share information that is relevant for different types of stakeholders. So as mentioned, we have a MISP that is currently up and running. We have contacts with different organizations that are members of the advisory board. So we are trying to connect our MISP with other instances and also to identify the relevant sources. Well, in our case, it's more about privacy than security, because we understand that there is more content on the security side and less on the privacy one. So we are trying to focus on this area of privacy. And also one of our partners has developed a taxonomy that extends a security taxonomy in order to include this into the MISP architecture, into a MISP platform. And we are open, as I said at the beginning, to connect with other projects and also with other organizations. Then, in terms of other collaboration with other projects, I also saw that some of us, or most of us, are targeting the same type of stakeholders, organizations, policymakers. Also, there is a relevant part of our Trust-Aware project, which is which is addressing certification and standardization. This is something that we had no time to explain in detail, but there are I think 3 tasks working on this with the experts in the field. So there may be room for collaboration in this area too. And what else? About the respective tools. Well, the tools that are being developed, some of them will be open source, so they will be available for testing and also for being used by different types of users. They are being validated, as Angel mentioned, by by volunteers from 4 different countries. So these groups are already made, but perhaps some kind of validation by other organizations, other people maybe also work for the project. And I think that's it from my side.
Thank you very much. And then next would be Ruben from Sentinel Project, I think.
Yes.
Very good.
I pretty much, I would have to say that I pretty much agree with what was mentioned before. Also from Sentinel perspective, one of the dimensions that I think that we can try also to try to look for collaborations between the several projects. It's with regards to the validation of basically the platforms that we are providing here. So for instance, in Sentinel, the platform that we are providing, it's more specifically towards SMEs and micro enterprises. So with this respect, what we are proposing here has to be very simple. It has to be something that SMEs can understand, can work with it. So reducing complexity here, it's a must. And something that we need to address is basically to validate from, I would say, a UI and UX end user perspective, if what we are proposing here, it's targeting to the specific needs of the SMEs. We have 2 SMEs inside the consortium that, of course, will validate and test Sentinel platform. But I guess it would be beneficial for Sentinel to also enlarge the composition of tryouts. So it would be also very nice within also the other projects, because I know that there are also other SMEs involved. If we can get some, I would say, some feedback with regards to what we are proposing in terms of UI and UX. So this is pretty much something that could be also, it's a requirement not only from Sentinel, but I guess that other projects also have these kinds of concerns. So I would say that with regards to validation and testing, this is something that we can try to figure out if we can think of an approach in order to better extend this part. Also something that was mentioned, and here from the technical perspective, for instance, regarding with MISP platform. So I guess that this is also something, I would say, a common denominator in, I would say, the majority of the projects. So probably here, this is something that we can also try to foresee some kind of a joint collaboration and joint workout with regards to the connection and the usage of this kind of platform. Also something that was mentioned by Monica regarding the training and education. So one of the dimensions in Sentinel is actually to train and to educate users. So yes, so in this regard, also that would be beneficial is how we can make sure that the curriculums or also the content that we are addressing the end users are tailor-made. So once again, if they are understandable, if they are not complex, if they are readable, and actually end users can use it properly. So once again, we are talking here about validation. And of course, the training material could also be something that we can also try to find some collaborations and some synergies. And yeah, last but not least, regarding the certification and the standardization. This is also another important aspect that is also being addressed by the European Commission. And sometimes it's to some extent neglected or not putting too much focus and emphasis from projects. But I guess that also in Sentinel, since we are talking here on measures, since we are talking here on processes, the need for using something that is standardized and also to look for certification mechanisms here can also be seen as a good value added. So any kind of collaboration here, joint collaboration, could also be seen in this perspective. Yes, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Rodrigo from the IRIS project.
So first of all, I would like to reinforce the message introduced by Panayotis about the collaboration. I mean, in IRIS, I mean, IRIS is about collaboration, about efficient collaboration with third, but in general within entities. So we are building on top of MeliCert, but as you know, MeliCert offers additional service on top of MISP. So we are happy to exchange through MISP any lesson learned inside the project. This is the first point. The second one is we have seen this morning several projects addressing the threats related to IoT, which is good, but we have seen less projects addressing the specificities of AI-based systems, which is, I think, also an area in which perhaps less known. I mean, and an area in which I think we can join forces in order to, have a better coverage of the detection and also, but also the response, or how to robustify these type of systems. And the third one is about training. We are also covering the training. We have our cyber range platform. We are providing several materials. So I think since several projects are covering this, I think it will be useful to have a kind of common database or common repository for, putting there all these materials that we are creating in these projects in order to have a bigger knowledge base. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you all. And unless some of the people that left are back, they'll please let me know. Otherwise, I would move on with other questions. I also don't think we have anything from the public. So I would like to ask you all, let's say, a connection with the domain of cloud edge IoT infrastructure, because you're familiar most likely with the general trend of a group of calls that have to do with the convergence between cloud computing and IoT. First, there were the calls about the whole infrastructure, cloud edge IoT. Then there were the call about cognitive cloud, that is, let's put some AI in the system to make it self-manageable. Then there were the call on swarm computing. And then now there is an active call that is called the cognitive computing continuum, right? So there is AI, there is cloud, there is edge IoT, and everything. In that call, there is even the invitation to collaborate with projects in the area of cybersecurity. Of course, we are talking Horizon Europe in this case, right? So I would like to know from you, how do you think that this trend, right, towards this more complex, heterogeneous infrastructure, let's say, what are the pitfalls, what are the warnings that you think projects or general research activity in cloud edge IoT infrastructure should really take from cybersecurity oriented project and experiences? Because you know that sometimes security is not the main focus of infrastructure projects, and the scenario gets more and more complex. So any takers, or we go in order again? How you prefer? So moving from the IoT to the a more complex infrastructure, is there anything that you think new projects should take in mind, should keep in mind in terms of cybersecurity's do's and don'ts? Okay, then maybe we, if no one wants to take this question, then we can talk more about, let's say, what we have in the list.
Yeah, Giovanni, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Just to step in a bit. You know, that's a very, very good point. First of all, since you know, we're talking about many technologies here, but you know, maybe we neglect a very, very important thing about the process time. So we're talking about real time, but this is not by default given here. So we have to work and we have to gain the knowledge coming from the edge computing related projects regarding all the process time and where all these algorithms are trained and are processed. So if we put the edge computing in this scenario, then you know, we move the intelligence from the cloud to the user premises and very close to the data sources. So that would be a good lesson for us, since given that all the cybersecurity and the privacy preserving goes step by step even more complex, then we need also to put in this equation also the process time. So what is the process time right now, for example? What is the exact requirement regarding the real time in terms of detecting an anomaly? So if we exploit the advantages of the edge computing, and at the same time, if we could support a privacy by design architecture, for example, by having federated learning without exposing data, and all the process could be locally, not globally, locally, then we can get many useful lessons from the IoT and the edge computing related projects of how all these algorithms and the process is optimized, and to get these lessons to the cybersecurity domain, since we need this to support real-time or near real-time, since that time is very, very critical for us, so as to detect promptly something, an anomaly or an attack, and also to provide you know, in terms of standardization, what is the minimum of this time needed for having also certification of the devices and the process. So it's very important to conclude, to get these lessons and to transfer these advantages from the IoT projects for getting easy and, you know, to make a straightforward way for us, mostly for detecting anomalies in real time. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very important bit, because of course, yeah, latency and processing and closeness to data is a big factor in edge computing. But what about also the other way around? So do you see some outcomes that you already in your projects have produced, or that they are insight that you think should be passed to the next generation of projects that try to operate in this AI everywhere, any device, you know, heterogeneous network kind of scenario? And also, if you want, also how this connects with digital autonomy, which is the other aspect why, of course, the Commission insists a lot on edge computing, distributed AI, federated learning, and this topic. So what would you recommend to the next wave of projects that you think you have already learned about this? And how does this relate to the, let's say, higher level European policies and values? Some of you already discussed these things in your presentation.
Yeah, Giovanni, if I may, very, very fast, just to leave some time also for the other colleagues in the panel. One major lesson we have learned already from our activities, not only in Electron, but in the past projects as well, is how important is to provide a lightweight solution for the stakeholders. So the stakeholders should be able to run all these technologies and solutions, you know, given all the capabilities, you know, the hardware and software capabilities they have already. So we should provide them a lightweight solutions. And towards this target is very important to keep everything that is estimated very heavy locally, I mean at the edge level, and to provide also this design for any kind of stakeholder, even it is you know, a generator or a market oriented organization, or a TSO or a hospital, you know, or a transportation utility. So we need to provide lightweight solutions. So for this purpose, just a recommendation coming from a patent just filed by IBM, who is a partner of our consortium, is to make solutions, lightweight solutions, to train algorithms promptly, I mean in a very low latency manner, by having also encrypted data, not only, you know, pure data, not encrypted plain data, but also encrypted data. And given the design we have about federated learning, we can have all this training in a very distributed manner. The latency is coming lower, and we could at this way we could provide lightweight solutions to any kind of stakeholder is interesting to use these solutions. Since, and I'm concluding this phrase, what is important for our project is to make all the stakeholders and the end users to use them. That's the most important thing for us.
Clear. Any further comments? Or I don't know, from Monica, or we go again in the order as before? We have like 5 minutes, so I think I would like just a sum up statement from you.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end, the technical manager couldn't attend, and it's difficult for me to see the relation with the cloud AG. And I can understand what Panagiotis said, and I kind of agree. I was also thinking of all the aspects about the identification of devices that we are developing. It can go beyond IoT. I mean, and some of the models, at least that we are developing in Second, can also be deployed in decentralized networks and infrastructure. So also going beyond the IoT and including the age part of the processing continuum. So I think that there are the second is still at we are with early prototypes, so we have a lot of things to be done. But I think that as the project evolves, we will see things that could be applied to the next point in the agenda of the European Commission agenda, for sure, and best practices that can leverage, as well as to also observe the new projects appearing in these fields to learn from them.
Yeah, thank you. I expected in the last year of the project there will be also more events. I heard already a couple of examples of further technical workshops and communication actions that you can organize to propagate this result. Again, really just to wrap up, let's finish the round. So maybe Sergio, if you can give the perspective from an IoT.
Sure. Certainly. Well, it's difficult to complement what the nice input from Panagiotis, certainly. Okay. I really feel also, I also see the importance of the lessons learned from federated AI and confronting it with the European values, right? Its importance for protection of personal data, right? So that the data doesn't leave the local infrastructure. But also from the entities, the company's point of view, it's really critical in the sense that sometimes these entities have the data and they don't know exactly what they should learn with, what they can do with that, and this is where the data space's importance comes in, right? Where there is value in somehow sharing this information in a protected way or ensuring confidentiality so that it can enhance other models, and in the other way around also obtain models which can do a similar or reach an objective which is of interest to the entity, well, monetizing the data they have, basically, right? So there are, well, wrapping up, there are certainly many lessons that will be able to be shared from these projects which are already exploiting in the concrete use cases this federated AI.
Thank you. And then Ruben, same, if you can wrap up from your point of view.
Okay. Just also to go very briefly about this cognitive computing continuum, something that was also expressed very well by Panagiotis and how can be addressed to some extent. I also think that having this federated learning approach could be something that into some extent should be, I would say, addressed and tackled probably in the next generation projects, because I think it all boils down into how we are going to manage complexity. This is what we are talking here. It's the management of the complexity. How, for example, the network can operate itself. How can we? What happens if we need to upgrade or update the network? What are the consequences of that? And I guess that I also tend to agree with what Panagiotis said, that the approach should be very lightweight approaches and very lightweight tools in order to seen as a way to reduce complexity into this perspective. I think this is a very interesting. I think this is a very interesting topic. But just also to recap and from Sentinel perspective, although we are more focusing here, I would say, on the automate some kind of measures, some kind of compliance with GDPR and personal data protection. But of course, AI here, it's a must in all of this process. And I also pick up in one of the sentences that it's, I mean, this is also very nice what we are developing here, but at the end, it's something that needs to be used by the end users. So if the end users don't use it, there is something wrong here with the process. So I think that this is very important to have this kind of iterative approach and having the feedback from the end user side, the end user perspective.
Thank you. And then Rodrigo from Iris, and we are.
Yeah, so taking into account the dynamism of the new ICT infrastructures, I mean, cybersecurity must adapt to it and be more decentralized, more federated, as commented, lightweight, but also closer to the edge. Otherwise, I mean, for several applications is mandatory to have this detection closer to the edge, but which is most important, the reaction, also the response. So we need automated response. We need, to block the attack at an early stage. Otherwise, they may have impact on safety. I mean, on the critical use cases. So. And also, besides the lightweight that was commented before by Panos, I think also we need to work on usability and explainability of cybersecurity. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. And then before wrapping up, I saw on the chat that Madhusanka from the spatial project is back. So if you have the chance, I can give you the word, Madhusanka, to also, let's say, wrap up from a spatial project point of view.
Thank you very much. So sorry, I have a lecture, so I have to drop out for a while. So that's it. Yeah. So from the spatial point of view, I think one of the most critical things, applying AI in security is going to be important, and it's going to play a bigger role in the security management. And from the spatial point of view, I think not just applying this AI for security, we think we should also ensure these accountability metrics or responsibility metric also need to be met, because that is something we are expecting from the security solutions. So in this regard, so if you think about like AI security or AI privacy or something, so the explainable AI, I think it's like an important technology which we can use in order to ensure this accountability or resilience or explainability metrics can be met. But this is very new field. I mean, a lot of things yet to be done, and for the moment, for example, like whatever the explainability matrices we are using is not stable, so sometimes it can be also a problem. So, but in future, this should be something we have to work really closely and improve. This is really important, especially we want to make sure this AI system or security systems are comply with the ethical policies or the privacy policies or whatever the regulation we are defining. So we have to have a way to verify this AI methods comply with that. So I think explainable AI played a bigger role of enabling that part. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you, and thanks to all the speakers, and thanks to the public that had interest and patience to follow us through the workshop. So we've heard different points of view. We've saw the importance of use cases, the general trend toward more AI that creates new challenges, but also holds the promise of innovative solutions to cybersecurity challenges. And if you want to know more, please contact us and any of the 10 projects. You have seen the social media and website links in most of the presentation. And we are, I think, 10 minutes beyond the allotted time. So more or less, I think we did a precise enough job given the number and variety of presentations and interventions. So thanks again to everyone. Have a nice day. And remember, you will also be able to see then the recording that will be published on the project's websites for further consultation. That's all from us. Thanks a lot and have a good day. Goodbye.